Plus, for a limited time, get free shipping when you use the Black Friday and July code listed on site. That's LUME deodorant.com to save up to 30% today when you use the discount code listed on site. That's LUME deodorant.com. LUME deodorant.com. See site for details. That's LUME deodorant.com.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Oh, boy. Welcome to the Annie Fry Show. I'm Ryan Recker, and I'm filling in. Happy to be with you for the next couple of days, and there's certainly a lot going on. I'm in my different studio here if you're watching the live video feed. I'm actually at my job, and I had to reserve this studio for that. Ryan Wiggins, how are you, sir?
Great to connect with you again, Ryan. Ryan again.
Can I mention something real quick to lead off the show? This is something more personal, but I worked with someone in Ohio by the name of Rick Burguy, and he was one of the coolest dudes. And I found out he passed away from cancer last night. And you ever work with someone that it's so strange? Like you can look at them and you only have good memories of that person. Like there's nothing bad you can possibly think of. And that was Rick Burguy to me. And he worked in a small town. He was there forever, side by side with another newscaster by the name of Bob Ulm, who's blind since birth and has been doing news for 50 years in the same community. Rick was there right by, helping him and producing and doing all these things behind the scenes in this small community. I was lucky to work with him for several years. And, you know, he had this laugh. He had this way of communicating with people. He was just the coolest dude, and I found out this morning he passed away, and that really made me sad. So I wanted to give him a little tribute here for all the people that we know that may have you've worked with and only can think of great things about them. I mean, truly only good things about them. I just wanted to say that real quick as we started. Can I ask you, what's the YouTube live chat poll, by the way?
Absolutely. It is the GOP convention having an effect on the election? Of course, that's the big news of the week. It's amazing how much big news there is in the last few days, of course, but we are talking about the GOP convention because we've been airing it live. Of course, last night, Nikki Haley and DeSantis both spoke. But the question for you to answer today is it having an effect on the election?
The convention in the election. It kind of rhymes a little bit.
We tried, but it didn't quite work. Yeah,
my 3-year-old would say it rhymes, and I would too.
I said, let's do a rhyming one, and Ethan said, okay, how about bird and turd? And I was like, no, let's do something that's much more intelligent. How about convention and election? But it didn't quite work.
That works. If this was Eminem in one of his raps, he would make it work. I think most rappers find ways to do that. And a couple of nights ago, you saw, was it Amber Rose opened up the convention, and she is what would you say, like a adult entertainer? Like, what would her title be? Someone that grifts money from men?
Good question. She's one of those people who seems like she's famous for being famous, because I don't know why she's famous. She's very attractive, so that helps, but I don't know what she's done.
So she goes up and she's got a tattoo on her forehead, some words, whatever it says. And I think she does OnlyFans. That's so essentially it's a website where mostly men pay to watch women post videos of themselves, and mostly, sexual ways, we should say. And she goes up there and she puts her endorsement to Donald Trump. And I'm watching the clips, and I'm hearing what she has to say. And then I hear like the MSNBCs and the CNNs of the world that are saying, wow, this is bad for Democrats, that people like Amber Rose are lining up against Donald Trump. And it made me wonder, How much has the RNC changed over the years? Because think about maybe when you were younger and you looked at the candidates, the Mitt Romneys or the McCains or the George W. Bushes, and depending on how far you go back, I know that politics has changed a lot over the years, but has it changed so much that it's unrecognizable today? And is that necessarily a bad thing that Republicans are changing with the times? Because strategy would tell you that it's a bad thing to not change. Is this a good change because it means that Republicans can be more competitive in the future, moving with where we are today?
Well, to win elections, yes. This looks very different. I mean, the convention, it's almost as if that's been the point of the convention. You have the traditional, politicians up there. You had Nikki Haley. I thought that was actually a big thing for her to endorse Donald Trump last night, so that's no small thing. But you have a lot of just average people. I mean, you mentioned average Amber Rose. She's not a politician. They're bringing these people out more and more because they can. I think that's the difference, is because Democrats have always had celebrities. They have the endorsement of basically anybody that they want because it's cool to be in Hollywood and be a Democrat. You can't be a Republican in Hollywood. As we know, because George Clooney just had a massive fundraiser for Biden about 3 weeks ago and then turned on Biden. That's beside the point. But I think what we're seeing, Ryan, is at now, it's not as if Republicans never wanted to do these things. It's that you couldn't pull the head of the UFC onto the platform before. You couldn't pull some random internet star. Trump's been doing podcasts and stuff. These are things that couldn't happen in the past, not just because of the technology, but because it was like, it's faux pas to do this when it's a Republican. It's not anymore.
So what is the line that you don't cross if you're just strictly looking for votes? Okay, so let me throw out a couple of scenarios for you. And this is where I get a little bit nervous when it comes to the Republican Party. And so let's look at one line that, let's say polling on abortion is a great example. And the numbers, when you look at it, for the most part, it's not a popular stance to be against abortion. So I know a lot of times Republicans vote, and this is a big issue for them, to talk about right to life, meaning that the life of that child is valuable and has rights, including the right to life. That's an important deal. What if the polling starts to turn even further? Do you find that some of these key topics, even on morality per se, is not as important as trying to get as many votes to the Republican Party, so they start to abandon things like that? Is this a sign that Republicans are completely abandoning the moral side that we once relied on, meaning, hey, we're the family values, hey, we're this, hey, we're that? You put an Amber Rose up there, that completely, I know we've been going down the path of throwing that away to begin with. Where do you find that the compromise begins to the point where you start to turn on some of these key issues, knowing that it's a losing proposition?
Yeah, I think that's a great question and very, very good topic to be talking about, because that is exactly why you question some of these guests. You go, well, are you really a part of what traditional conservatism is? Or are you a part of what not liberalism is right now? Because that seems to be what's happening, is a lot of people are not saying, gosh, I really am an economic conservative or a social conservative. It's they're just saying, you know what, the sort of the stifling of speech is a big one. The things that progressives have done in the last 4 to 8 years, I mean, especially during COVID, would be a big one.
Yeah.
They go, you know what? I may not be a I don't necessarily want to put the Republican elephant on my lapel, but I'm definitely not that thing. And I used to be that thing. I used to be a donkey. I used to be in that party, and I'm not anymore. So I'm not really sure what I am. And you're seeing, a little leak of people who are willing to actually go ahead and say, well, you know what? If I'm not that, maybe I am a conservative. Maybe I am a Republican now. And that's why I think you're seeing a lot of these people ask the questions and at least open up the mind and their ideals enough to say, well, maybe my dad's Republican Party is not even what this is anymore. And so I don't think it's as much of an abandonment of values as it is saying, look, we don't have to agree on all this. We just know that we're not those things. So if we can agree on, let's say, 75% of it, then we can all get along. That's kind of what Haley said last night. I disagree with Donald Trump quite a bit, but I agree with him more than I disagree with him. So I think that's kind of where the party is.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I think that a lot of Democrats have pointed out, too, that look where our party has gone. It's gone so far left, it's unrecognizable. And those are the ones that are starting to be the loudest voices in our party. So they get upset about those things. There's going to be the casual type of people that necessarily don't vote every time. They don't care to vote. And I think Democrats go, and that's a huge strategy of theirs, is to try to get those people to the polling places, the ones that don't vote. And they just assume that they're going to vote Democrat because they haven't. A lot of times it's in these large metropolitan cities that have been blue forever. Now the Republican Party says, look who we got on our side. You don't know anything about us, right? All you know is that, hey, times are tough. You can barely make rent. Guess who did that? Joe Biden. Guess what it's been like over the past 4 years? The Democrat Party, the people that have been leading you, are treating you so well. Look what we got. We got Amber Rose, and we want to put an end to that garbage. And oh yeah, and those guys that want to go into your daughter's bathroom and dressing rooms, we're cutting that garbage out. These people that are coming into our country illegally. Remember how you had to come legally? All these people from these other third world countries. Remember how you went through the right process, and now they just want to open up the gates for anyone that doesn't? Hey, that's not us. So they might not know the platform, but they know, like, hey, these guys are like talking some common sense right now. And maybe it doesn't matter who that person is and the other things that they may believe in, as long as they can point to that one person. Hey, it's Amber Rose. Maybe that's enough to get people to get out and vote for Republican for the first time.
Yeah, Ryan, I'm glad you brought up Amber Rose because that was Monday. We did a whole show yesterday. I don't think we mentioned her at all, but I've been watching. I don't know why, maybe just lifestyle choices, that I've been watching the convention later. So when it starts, I'm probably still in the midst of bedtime with kids and things, so I'm not quite catching like the keynote speakers as much until later. But I am watching a lot of coverage of it and listening to a lot of coverage of it. And I'll tell you what, Monday night, I turned on streaming, HBO Max. I guess they have an agreement. Maybe they're owned by the same company, CNN. So they were streaming live coverage of CNN covering the GOP convention. And they would go back. They had two panels, Ryan. One of them was led by Jake Tapper with about 4 people around him. The other one was led by Anderson Cooper with about 4 people around him. And every 15 minutes, they just go back and forth between them. Well, one of the entire 15 minutes with Van Jones, and that's one of the more famous clips that came from this, but I was watching it live. They talked about Amber Rose and the black vote for the entire segment of that panel's time. And all they kept coming back to was, we're not going to lose the black vote, because they're talking as Democrats. We're not going to, and they had one random Republican on there who was not doing a very good job. But they were saying, we're not going to lose the black vote, but we are going to lose a percentage of it more than we're used to.
Yeah.
And Van Jones had the famous clip now that I've heard it a few times randomly, of him saying, hey, this is a problem. When you got Amber Rose up there, that is busting up our coalition, and that is a problem for us. So it is a big deal.
Busting up the coalition. You know what they say? Busting makes you feel good, just like the old Ghostbusters. So let me try to get inside the Wiggins household. You're trying to put your kids to bed at night, and they're saying, Daddy, please read us another story. And you say, sorry, I have to go listen to Amber Rose.
Yeah, and I was not watching the RNC. I was watching just her other stuff. But
no, I'm afraid to even Google her name sometimes.
I know. I'm like, I don't know about this. I actually did on Twitter. I clicked on, because I didn't know who she was. I think I had seen her because apparently she dated Kanye and stuff. She's just kind of aware that the person exists, but I didn't know anything about her. So I did click on her, and that was a little bit of a mistake, because some images come up that you go, I hope there's no check on me here, because I would be flagging that check. These are images that you don't necessarily want to have in your search history if you're trying to stay a good Christian boy.
Yeah, well, is Ethan the resident young person? Ethan, do you know Amber Rose before this?
I knew Amber Rose just from that she dated Kanye, and you see her, she was on like a lot of tabloid covers and stuff that you'd see in passing at the store or whatever, but outside of that, no.
You're smiling. You knew exactly what was going on. I saw that look on your face. Yes.
Are you implying that I like Amber Rose for other reasons right now, Ryan Record?
Yes, I am implying that.
You would
because
be
it's
wrong.
It's just okay. I feel you sometimes don't know what you're walking into because you're ignorant of all of it, and sometimes it's better to be ignorant and just not investigate further on people's backgrounds.
I will say I have much more interest in Kanye West than I do in Amber Rose.
Yeah, maybe Kanye. Is Kanye a good example of what happened last election that kind of backfired? They thought they were going to pull in the Kanye, and that vote would be basically the effect they're hoping. And it kind of backfired because of the Kanye being Kanye. Now they're trying it again with Amber Rose. Could this backfire too, kind of like Kanye?
Well, I mean, you never know. I mean, Kanye didn't speak at the convention, so that's a good thing. He didn't really like come out and speak at anything, which is a good move because you just never know with that guy. But yeah, it's possible. I mean, you really don't know with these people. They're wild cards for sure. So they may do things that later you go, yeah, not such a good idea. But it is interesting that they're willing, because this is a career-changing move. Like when you do this and you're an influencer at that level, you have decided, I'm throwing my hat in this ring now, and more people are talking about her, and this is probably why you do it, more people are talking about her now than maybe had been ever before. But is it the attention you want for your career? She said yes, and that's kind of a big deal.
Yep. All right. When we come back, I heard this phrase that Project 2025 is the defibrillator for Democrats right now, hoping to bring their chances back to life. That's interesting. And, I read this other article on The Hill that talks about all the political rivals of Donald Trump now behind Donald Trump. And I thought about myself personally, and I thought, if he said the things he did to me personally, could I ever stand on a stage and endorse him? I don't know if I could, but maybe that's why I can't be in politics. So let's talk about those things. Wiggins America coming up later this hour, too. I know you want to talk about SCOTUS and some of the potential changes to the Supreme Court. We actually reached out to Brad Young. He's going to join us later in the show, too. He's much more of an X's and O's type of guy, legal breakdowns. But what a big story this is, because for a while there, it was all hypothetical attacks on the Supreme Court. Now it's a real attack on the Supreme Court. So let's get all of these things in. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in. Happy to be with you here today on the Andy Fry Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Shut my mouth, gone with the wind. There ain't nobody looking back again.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Twitter @Annie Fry Show.
I really loved meeting the folks over at Window World because they're passionate about what they do. And that's important when you're investing in your home, in replacing those windows that have long lived past their quality date. You need to get those windows taken care of in the heat of the St. Louis summer. Of course, you know what it's like when they're not keeping that warm air in the winter here in St. Louis. You need the windows that are the best, simply the best, for less. And that's what you get when you call Window World, 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800. And you tell them that Annie sent you from 97.1. They're going to take great care of you. They're good people, and that matters. They're local people. They're St. Louis people, and their windows are fantastic to boot. If you are looking for windows that come with a warranty so that you can rely on them long term, they have that lifetime warranty covering all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And they use double strength glass, giving it a strength not commonly used in replacement windows. Reach out to them today, and you can get to them online as well at windowworld.com.
If you have an IRS problem, getting accurate legal advice could help get this all behind you right now. Hi, I'm local attorney Lance Drury with the Drury Law Firm. The IRS made new changes that make it easier to settle your IRS debt for a reduced amount. Not all our clients qualify, but under the IRS's new Fresh Start program, you may be able to resolve your IRS problems quickly and for less money. But don't wait. An IRS problem is a legal problem. You need someone who understands both the IRS and the law. Don't trust your tax problems to some TV personality. The Drury Law Firm has handled thousands of IRS cases over the last 15 years, and your first visit is completely free and confidential. And I'll tell you on the spot exactly how much it will cost. So if you're facing IRS wage levies, bank levies, or tax liens, call me, Lance Drury, at 314-260-6120, or go to Lance, DRURYlaw.com. If you have IRS issues, you need a local attorney, you need me, Lance Drury.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
I was having a lot of sinus infections. My sinuses were clogged, pressure, headaches.
Linda suffered for years with chronic sinus infections.
You don't feel like doing anything. When you feel like your head is completely clogged, all you want to do is just lay down and sleep. And the pressure, it's just not fun, always walking around with a headache.
Now, her issues are gone. How? A minimally invasive procedure done in the office of St. Louis Sinus Centers called balloon sinuplasty.
I really did not know what it was like to feel like you're really breathing and not being so clogged up. I would do it again in a heartbeat, and I would definitely recommend it for someone else.
Do you suffer with chronic sinus infections, facial pain, pressure, congestion? Find out if balloon sinuplasty is the solution for you. Set an appointment today with St. Louis Sinus Centers. Call 314-332-2885. 314-332-2885. That's 314-332-2885.
They're pounding on the door. They're calling on the phone. They're threatening to close your business. If debt has your business on the brink, call Ray Reynolds, the godfather of credit. For over 40 years, Ray Reynolds has helped thousands of customers get millions in cash credit. It's no wonder why they call Ray the godfather of credit. He may even be able to raise your score above 750 before the end of the year. You could even get a new personal or business credit line up to $50,000 within days. If your credit needs a rebuild, call Ray Reynolds and receive a $1,000 cash credit card at closing. Raise your credit score to 750 or more. Call Ray Reynolds at 800-576-2295. 800-576-2295. Learn about Ray's secrets to success and how he can fix and improve your credit score to 750 or more. Call the godfather of credit rebuild, Ray Reynolds, at 800-576-2295. 800-576-2295.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. 9 out of 10 homes are under-insulated. Keep the air you're paying to heat where it should be with 15% off attic insulation. For a free estimate on attic insulation, visit aircomfortservice.com.
97.1 FM Talk. You're here because you clearly have a refined palate. St. Louis is home for conservative talk. This is 97.1 FM Talk. This is the Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
So I heard the phrase referring to Project 2025 as the quote-unquote defibrillator. The Democrats hope to bring them back to life. I think that may be perhaps the best way to try to explain that talking point. And I know we have the Heritage Foundation on here, the radio station, quite frequently. I know I don't fill in every week, and I do fill in a lot, though, because it's nice to because I get a little extra money to do this, which is fantastic, and it helps supplement.
It comes out of my salary. It's really, I don't like it.
Oh, I'm so sorry for that. But what I say is, for the most part, when I fill in, we do have experts from the Heritage Foundation. How much did you know about Project 2025 before the Democrats brought it up? Did you know much about it?
So I started hearing about it because Democrats started bringing it up.
I think that's what's the point in all of this. It's they're using it in this way, right? It's not because it's something that it's like this grand conspiracy that Republicans have. It's something that the Democrats are using as like a boogeyman.
Yeah, and you know that they're doing it because they started using it, and they're like, we're going to really go hard on this. And they were, and that's fine. That's a strategy. But then Trump came out and said, I don't actually know anything about this. It has nothing to do with my campaign. And also, I pretty much don't like parts of it. And he said that all publicly, and it's written and it's time-stamped for anybody to see anywhere. And you can say, well, some of these people who are part of Project 2025, they worked in his previous administration. That's fine. I mean, that's Washington. So, but it doesn't mean that he's asking them, please come up with a plan for me. Let's do Project 2025. I mean, he publicly said, this is not my thing. Mm-hmm. Yet, Democrats were so devoted to it already that they basically ignored that fact, which is now a published fact, and have said, doesn't matter, we're going to say that's Trump's plan anyway.
Yep. I think I have Donald Trump's exact quote here. Let me read it. It was, what you talking about, Willis?
Yeah, I think he called Project 2025 Willis. It was weird.
Yeah. So Some of the points of Project 2025, it's a long, what is it, like 900 pages or something like that. And so Heritage Foundation is this independent, like, think tank. And they have a lot of different experts that have had basically experience in sometimes different parts of government, sometimes private sector, but they have legal experts and they have national security experts, and you hear a lot of them on this radio station, and they really have a great perspective. And I've always enjoyed interviews through the Heritage Foundation. And I think those people have ideas of what they think would help the United States of America in a situation where we got a lot of problems. So here are some of the things we can do to try to solve some of these problems. You may not agree with it, but when they put a report together, it's basically, here are some things we think would be helpful. And you get, in this case, MSNBC, CNN banging on the drum, and I'm 100% positive. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say that. 99% positive that this is a coordinated, hey, this is what we need to do for our campaign, for our person, Joe Biden, because we're not going to be able to run on Bidenomics anymore. That's a foregone conclusion. It's not great. The border's not great. So we can't really run on immigration, and we're stopping that. So they've tried to kick the tires on a couple of these things to make it sound like the Biden administration is, supporting and doing all these good things. But none of the things that they brought up mesh with the reality of what people are actually feeling in America. So then they say, okay, what we need to do is say, well, if you do put Donald Trump back in, here's what your future looks like. Now they want to go into the fortune telling. So now we're going to take this Project 2025 and we're going to say, this is what the future looks like. And that is their boogeyman in something like this. And defibrillator is the right way to say it. They're going to try to use that to bring Joe Biden back to life. It's not going to work, though. It's like that moment in Mean Girls where they say, stop trying to make fetch happen. Fetch isn't going to happen. That's them. That's their fetch.
No, I think you're right. It's too deep. It's not an average voter topics. Like they're trying. That you're right. They have searched the average voter topics and gone, well, we're losing on all these. So how do we go deeper? And so they're really just kind of playing to, if people who are listening to 97.1 right now, you're pretty plugged in. The equivalent of you on the left is really concerned about Project 2025 because those are the people who are super plugged in. They were already voting Democrat, no matter who it was. Wrecker, when we talked to Hans von Spakovsky about this, Annie did a week or two ago. Yeah, Heritage Foundation, legal expert, and asked him that question. Like, tell me about Project 2025 because it's a talking point on the left for sure. And he really broke it down in ways that I didn't even know, and he didn't talk about the specifics of this year's version. What he talked about is this always exists. Like every administration that comes out every 4 years, they put one of these out, and it would be called Project 1984 or whatever, 1985. Yeah. Like they've been doing it, he said, since Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
And back then, they would, before email, they'd have to print the whole thing out and take it to Ronald Reagan or somebody in administration and say, here you go, here's our suggestion. They always do it. And so whether an administration listens or not is entirely up to them. They're just saying, here's what we think is a good plan. They've always done it. This year's no different. It's just become a thing because Democrats don't have anything else.
This is their inside baseball. I love it.
Yeah.
So, if there were successful liberal talk show hosts, this is all they'd be talking about.
If Al Franken was still doing a show, which I don't think he is, this is,
who knows
it would be Project 2025 all day.
Yeah, he's still waiting to get that call to be put back on the air, isn't he? So what is Al Franken up to nowadays?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah. If the Air America was still around, yes. If you tuned in to Air America right now, if it was still there, this is what they would be talking about every single topic. It's so funny because as talk show hosts that put content together, I get that because there's these certain things that you're like, okay, we have to kind of talk about this because it's what everyone's talking about. This would be the liberal talk show host dream because they found something to bang a drum on. But I think in the back of their mind, they know it wouldn't be resonating because number one, they probably wouldn't read it. But I see the Joy Reids and I see these like, we're going to go cry in front of a camera. And you remember when Joe Biden during the last election said they're going to put you back in chains? This is their like version of that, which is, hey, Republicans are going to put you in chains, fill in the blank minority group. And they're using this as like, this is the new tactic. And I don't think they're buying it, and except for the ones that are already voting Democrat. There's not like a independent that's looking at this and is concerned about it, I don't think.
I think you're exactly right. I think we've broken this down probably about as well as it needs to by saying they looked at issues like immigration, like economy, like crime, whatever you want, and said, okay, well, we're not doing well on these. The other one, though, Ryan, that we haven't mentioned is a threat to democracy. They've used that's been the thing that they've constantly said. And then they go, oh, well, the president was almost assassinated. Maybe we turned down the Hitler threat to democracy stuff. But they aren't. They've gone right back to it.
Right.
But the threat to democracy thing is funny because they've really ran with that. And I think it's just kind of gotten lodged in Biden's brain. And he just kind of keeps saying it because that's, he's on autopilot in a sense. Mm-hmm. Because it's not working. Like polling shows that if you ask voters in, I think, multiple polls now, at least one that I've seen, who is a bigger threat to democracy, Democrats or Republicans, Democrats are actually winning that poll in the reverse. Like they're actually, people are saying they're more of a threat to democracy when you ask the poll question.
So going back to the 2016 election again, too, if you remember when the Republicans were still trying to pick their candidate, and it came down to Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. One of the things Donald Trump said was, and suggested Ted Cruz's dad was part of the conspiracy to kill JFK or something like that. I think that's what it was. And I thought, okay, what a crazy thought. But either way, Donald Trump gets the nomination, and later Ted Cruz turns around and he's helping fundraise for Donald Trump and the Republican Party. And even at a moment like that, I thought, if that was me, I could never, ever do that. But now we have people that Donald Trump has not talked so kindly of in the Republican Party, because sometimes those people will say bad things about him. He'll turn around and say bad things about them too. But they're out there, and they're some of their biggest surrogates right now. Do you think you could ever do that? Is that only a politician thing, that where, let's say, you get really railed on unfairly by Donald Trump, and next thing you know, you're on stage at the convention giving a big speech to root?
Yeah, she's a bird brain. Like you can't come back from calling somebody an idiot and be like, you know what? No, she's fine. Like that stuff is unique to politics, and maybe it's business. I will say I hate that stuff, but I will say that I've, when you're trying to pitch TV shows, which I've done, people will spurn you, and they're not calling you names. They just ignore you, or they set a meeting and then they cancel it last minute on you and stuff like that, where clearly they have no real regard for you or your time, that they're more important than you. At some point, you do have to kind of swallow your pride, but there's always that line where you go, I'm not just going to keep doing this. So I don't know. I really don't know until I'm in that situation how far I'm willing to be like, you know what? I'm going to put my ego aside for the betterment of myself in this moment, because that's all it is.
Wait, hold on. You've pitched TV shows?
Yeah.
When did this happen?
Oh, I've always done this. My job before 97.1 was in television production.
Oh, I didn't know you pitch shows. Okay, so you were pitching on behalf of someone else, or were you trying to create a television show?
Yeah, we actually created television shows and then tried to pitch either new ideas or the ones we already had made. We still do.
How come I don't know about this? So where did you pitch your shows, and what type of shows were they?
We've pitched to lots of people. The easiest doors we got into was with Christian networks, because we had fairly clean content, even if it wasn't Christian. But we have pitched to NBC, Peacock. We've pitched to some of the bigger ones before. I don't think we ever did Netflix. But I've been talking to a network lately that I don't know if anything's going to happen, because they always look like, oh, maybe, and then you just wait forever and nothing happens, which is why, I don't have a TV show that you're watching right now, but that's the nature of the business. It takes a long time.
All right. Are you uncomfortable talking about this because nothing's happened, or can I keep asking you questions about it?
You can. I don't know how much detail I can give you, but I can answer your questions as much as possible.
Are you pitching things like Ryan Wiggins travels America and eats hot wings?
No,
is this the type of stuff?
Those shows are dead. Those shows are a dime a dozen. And apparently from the people I've talked to, here's some interesting behind the scenes stuff. For the people I've talked to, all of those cheap kind of shows are just dead, because there's just so many of them that people are producing them and they don't have anywhere to go with them. I was talking in February to a network executive at a streaming network. I won't say which one. And I don't think she knows what I do for a living. I literally set this meeting and she can't, like I said, she canceled it twice. And then finally was like, okay, I can meet with you on Friday or whatever. So I'd finally talked to her. And again, don't think she had any idea what I do daily. She was just looking at the show I was pitching. And she said, man, you know what? And she was like eating popcorn in her house, this is the way things are now. She's not in an office. She's just in her home office, whatever. That's the way the world is. And she's super casual. And she's like, you know what drives me crazy? Out of the blue. Like, I didn't even say anything about this. She goes, you know what drives me crazy is all the pet issues that get projects funded. Because that's all they care about, is trying to make sure the project gets funded. That's all we care about, because that's how you make them. And so she's like, she's the person who looks for money for projects. That's what she does. That's who you want to be talking to. And she said, it drives me crazy that for the last year and a half, and this was at the beginning of this year, she said anything associated with pro-Ukraine was getting a lot of attention. And she goes, and then all of a sudden, after about a year, it just isn't cool anymore. And then all the funding dries up and people move on. And she kind of said that same thing about DEI programming at that moment, but without saying DEI. She was using different vernacular. But she did say, that's been the soup du jour lately. And now all of a sudden, that's not a big thing anymore. And that really caught my attention, that somebody in the TV industry said, yeah, the DEI stuff isn't popular right now. For the money people. So it's all about the money, but there are trends. And I noted that, and I thought that is super interesting. Thank God I work at a conservative talk station and I can talk about things like this.
Wow. We may have to bring this up later on the show because I know we got to take a break, but I'm so fascinated by this aspect of your life, Ryan Wiggins. And we do have Wiggins America coming up after the break, too. Looking forward to this topic, some ideas about maybe the Supreme Court and potential changes that the Biden administration is going to bring up. I think these are some pretty big deals to address. So we'll talk Ryan Wiggins and Wiggins America after the break. I'm Ryan Recker filling in. You can find me online, Ryan Recker Radio. You're listening to 97.1 FM Talk.
I want something just like this. Oh, I want something just like this.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they were very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They were in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential. But finding those people can be a major hassle, unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Conservatives need real America First warriors to take the fight to the swamp. But Bob Onder attacked President Trump, proudly voted against him, and opposed Trump on China. Because Bob Onder is just another career politician we can't trust. Conservatives for American Excellence, Inc., paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. ConservativesForAmericanExcellence.com.
You want to retire soon, but everyone keeps telling you to wait until you're 65. After all, that's the age that you qualify for Medicare and you're close to full retirement age. I'm Marvin Mitchell, president of Compass Retirement Solutions. In my new book, Retire Early, The 9 Critical Decisions When Retiring Before 65, I discuss proper planning to help make early retirement possible. When to take Social Security, what to do with your 401k, health care, how to maximize retirement income, and much more. Get a complimentary copy of Retire Early by calling 1-800-743-8510. That's 1-800-743-8510. Can you retire early? Call 1-800-743-8510 for your copy of Retire Early, The 9 Critical Decisions When Retiring Before 65.
Investments and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and Illinois. Compass Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
More good news for Frederick Roofing, voted best roofing company by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch.
For a hole in your roof or a whole new roof, Frederick Roofing.
314-645-2000.
Well, there's a little bit of a debate breaking out about the poll today in our live chat. Here's the poll. Is the GOP convention having an effect on the election? Now, some people are saying, well, this audience really isn't the right one to poll. And other people say, no, it's whether it's having an effect on the election, not on you. And I have to echo that sentiment. Remember, you're talking about the electorate here, not just yourself. Is the GOP convention having an effect on the election? Let us know. It is the YouTube live chat poll. If you go to YouTube, you type in Annie Fry, the Annie Fry Show page will come up. You just click on there and you can vote. You can leave comments as well if you'd like to. 1247. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Every evening this week, the Republican National Convention is here. From 8 to 10, we're bringing you the convention plus live coverage. The Republican National Convention, every evening this week on St. Louis's home for conservative talk. The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Really quick, if I can just poll you two. When you're on Facebook, do you get a lot of random sponsored posts of LeBron James and Michael Jordan, like debating who's better?
Man, I
or is
wish.
That just me?
No, I wish I did, because clearly they're targeting you as a real man. What I've been getting is a bunch of sponsored ads of Meghan Trainor singing about her dog's hair.
What? So you don't get the Michael Jordan, LeBron James stuff?
No.
Facebook doesn't understand. I don't like LeBron James. I'm not going to say he's ever better than Michael Jordan, but they keep sending it to me no matter how many times I mute it or hide it. They keep sending it to me, and I thought maybe it's just a Facebook thing. So it doesn't have... Ethan, does that happen to you at all?
No, not from Facebook specifically. I feel like sometimes people that I'm friends with bring up that argument, but never from Facebook specifically.
I don't even watch basketball.
Maybe you are interested in it and you don't know it yet.
No, I was just looking at my phone during the break, and I got like 2 more of these sponsored posts on Facebook, and I thought, why are they still showing this to me?
Are they trying to sneak a product in there, or is it just the debate itself?
No, it's just the debate. It's the... oh, Michael Jordan's terrible, LeBron's great, or vice versa. And I'm like, I don't even watch basketball. I don't even care about
Maybe
these guys.
Watch it just long enough to see if, like, at about a minute in, they go, and check out Tender Vittles.
There's no video. It's just a post where they show a picture of stats. All right, let's do this. Wiggins!
Oh, Wiggins! All right, let's talk about the Supreme Court. President Biden, and a lot of this is from the Washington Post. President Biden is finalizing plans. So you like policy? Here's some policy for you. He's going to endorse major changes to the Supreme Court in the coming weeks. Now, when I say that sentence, Ryan, do you think I'll probably like these changes? No? Okay.
I think mostly anytime Biden talks about changes to the Supreme Court, it's super radical. So I'm curious how radical these could be.
All right. Well, here's a couple of the ways that he's proposing these changes. Now, keep in mind, I don't think there's any way, and think is the key word there, because I don't think there's any way he can do this unilaterally. I think he needs Congress. But these days, what's the law? I mean, who cares? He's the president. He's just going to issue an executive order or whatever. Anyway, here is what he's proposing for changes to the Supreme Court. Establishing term limits is number one. What do you think?
What you're saying is Biden 2025. Is this the game plan?
Yes. This is
okay.
Yes.
Term limits to court justices. No, I don't think that's a good idea.
Okay, that's number one. And I got to say, I'm not sure that that's a bad idea, but, that's sort of the opening salvo. The next one is justices would have an enforceable ethics code.
Also, I all of these things that you're going to say, I'm going to probably be against. And there's reasons why I'm against them. But before we get into it, I'll just say no, I don't think this is a good idea.
The idea of an enforceable ethics code for the Supreme Court, to me, is not awful. The problem is we already have a checks and balances system. That's the whole reason we have the different branches of government, legislative, executive, and judicial. When you start giving more and more power to the presidential, the executive branch, which is what this is proposing, then you're taking it away from somebody else. Now, you might argue, yeah, they need that power taken away. If you're on the left, you're certainly going to say things like Clarence Thomas accepting vacations from people who weren't associated with any particular cases, but were conservative, certainly, is wrong. You could come back and say that Justice Sotomayor should not be taking money for books from those same types of people on the left. So you could say there should be some sort of ethics code, but the problem is there already has been an ethics code. This would actually just be transferring power to the probably executive branch. I don't know if Congress would be involved depending on how they structure it. So that's where I have a problem with it, is that you already have a balance of powers. This is sort of saying we want more of that power to limit your power. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I come at it a little bit differently, because I think that what you're essentially saying is we deserve the power to weaponize the court system or procedures in order to harass or kick off Supreme Court justices. So going back to the term limit side, this is where I think that it could be dangerous, because, and even when you talk about ethics codes, when you start to say that the Supreme Court has this, let's say, master over them, like we're gonna put this over the Supreme Court, and we're gonna be the ones that can control them, then what you're saying is the Supreme Court is not independent. What you're saying is the Supreme Court is held accountable to a partisan person who may be in office or controlling the Congress at that time. And when you have someone controlling them and they're not independent, then it becomes truly partisan Supreme Court as well. They're not basing their decisions on what would be the constitutional law. They're basing it based on, well, whoever's in control, we need to appease them so we don't lose our job. And there's different parts of government that has these types of, hey, you cannot do this to them. In the Supreme Court being the highest of high, you can't do that to them, because what you would ultimately be doing is saying that, let's say, the president of the United States or whoever controls Congress ultimately is in decision of the justice system too. That is a terrible thing to ultimately self-impose on the Supreme Court. So that's why I'm against it.
Yeah, I think that's very well put. And the other question is always, well, whose ethics? Because yes, an ethics code sounds nice, but at first it would be things certainly it would be things that most people probably would agree with. You can't accept money from outside groups or stuff. You go, okay, well, I agree with that. But then the minute they start to have that enforcement power, then it's exactly what you just said. One party gets in power and says, well, we're going to add something to that ethics code. For instance, and I'm just making this up, if a Supreme Court justice ever uses the wrong pronouns with anybody in the court,
okay.
that you just broke an ethics rule and now you're subject to being tossed out of the court. Like that kind of stuff's real. That's how it's used. It's never at the beginning, but it is eventually. And let me get to the last one real quick with just a minute left here. Now, this isn't necessarily related to the Supreme Court itself, but it's based on what the Supreme Court has said, that Biden is weighing whether to call for a constitutional amendment to eliminate broad immunity for presidents and other constitutional office holders. Now, to me, Ryan, a lot of this seems like pandering stuff to kind of get the conversation back onto, leftist power issues, get the conversation going again on that side, because I don't think there's any way for them to change the Constitution at this point.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any way to put that genie back in the bottle when you have weaponized the justice system against your political opponent, and to say that the protections for them should be removed is, to me, just another power play that we need to watch out for. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Andy Fry. Don't go anywhere on 97.1 FM Talk.
Still be friends, but I'll admit that I was glad it was over.
The savings at Ruler Foods every day are something to write home about or to brag about on the radio. I'm glad that I get to do that with you. And I'm also glad that I get access to Ruler Foods savings so that I can bless my family with it. Every time I fill up the cart, I'm grateful that Ruler Foods is there to make it more possible to fill up my cart to feed the 6 people in my family. And they have special pricing on all sorts of different things, but their everyday prices are low. They carry the name brands you love, but they also carry Kroger brands at Ruler Foods prices. Some of the things that are on sale right now: fresh pineapple, 99 cents each. They have the General Mills cereal bags. They're like 32 to 35 ounces, $5.99 each. You can enjoy Kroger 73% lean ground beef sold in a 3-pound roll, just $2.99 a pound. The savings are fantastic, and they are a click away. If you want to have them delivered to your door, you can do that. You can also find the one closest to you, so you can go in for yourself, maybe for the first time, maybe you just haven't been in a while. Get all the info you need, rulerfoods.com.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Outdoor Living Redefined, brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design, your trusted partner in crafting stunning decks, inviting screened rooms, and elegant porch overhangs. Imagine enjoying a crisp morning coffee on your beautifully designed deck or hosting gatherings in a spacious screened room. Lakeside turns your vision into reality. Our skilled craftsmen use top-notch materials to create spaces that stand up to the elements and stand out in style. Elevate your lifestyle with Lakeside's outdoor living expertise. Visit our showroom or call Lakeside Renovation and Design today.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
At Onder Law, we deliver big judgments for the little guy. Onder Law takes on the biggest industries and holds them accountable. Call today for a free review at 314 or 618-9-MILLION.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose weight or stop smoking guaranteed. Early bird special only $49.99. Seminars Tuesday, August 13th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites St. Louis Airport in St. Louis, and Wednesday, August 14th at the 4 Points by Sheraton St. Louis Fairview Heights in Fairview Heights. Weight loss seminar 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 8 p.m.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers GetJim.com studio.
That's GetJim.com.
97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
A new call for President Biden to drop out. Lisa Brady, Fox News. It comes from a high-profile Democrat, California Congressman Adam Schiff, who led the first impeachment probe of then-President Trump and is now running for U.S. Senate. The L.A. Times citing a Schiff statement as saying he has serious concerns about whether the president can defeat the former president in November and should secure his legacy of leadership by allowing another Democrat to do it. President Biden is campaigning today in Las Vegas, while in Milwaukee, the first millennial on a presidential ticket will take the stage tonight.
The theme for day 3 of the Republican National Convention here in Milwaukee, Make America Strong Once Again.
We want a strong economy. We want a strong border. We want a strong standing in the world. And there's only one president, one candidate who can unite the country and make America strong again.
That's RNC Chair Michael Whatley here on Fox Business's Mornings with Maria. Some of these scheduled speakers tonight: Donald Trump Jr., Texas Governor Greg Abbott, and Ohio Senator J.D. Vance as he officially accepts the GOP vice presidential nomination.
Fox's Jeff Manasso at the convention. The same Arkansas town hit by tornadoes in May is now flooded.
About 11 inches of rain had fallen in central Arkansas as of this morning, prompting flash flooding that saw more than 80 people stranded inside a nursing home. No deaths or injuries are reported, but the sheriff's office in Marion County, Arkansas, says 4 feet of water filled up the Creekside nursing home in Yellville, where bridges and roadways are reportedly washed out.
Fox's Eben Brown. Water rescues continue. Federal safety investigators setting hearings for next month on the door plug blowout that led to more scrutiny of Boeing 737 MAX jets. The NTSB says 20 hours of hearings are scheduled over 2 days, August 6th and 7th, reviewing manufacturing inspections and oversight. America is listening to Fox News.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by July 31st, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be a sign that your digestive system isn't working at its best? Taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil fiber powders help promote your daily digestive health using a plant-based fiber called psyllium. The gelling action of this special fiber traps and removes waste so you can feel lighter and more energetic. Metamucil, promoting digestive health for a better you. Learn more at metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
The northwest flow going to try to dry things out over the next several days, but there's still a lot of low-level humidity in place due to the Tuesday rains. Partly sunny skies this afternoon. We'll keep an eye out for a couple of spot storms, 85. Tonight, clear skies, 63. Thursday, sunny, nice, though still a little humid, 81. Friday, sunny and 81. Saturday and Sunday, partly sunny, 83. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Bery.
You're not going to want to miss this. Diamonds Direct summer sale starts this weekend. For 3 days only, this Friday through Sunday, get 20% off rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, and more. Plus, book an appointment and get an additional $100 off. And designers are flying in from New York and LA to showcase their latest trends. That's 20% off, plus $100 off with an appointment and designer trunk shows. Tons of engagement rings on sale, too. 20% off starts Friday. Details at diamondsdirect.com. 3 days only and Sunday.
We all know how important nutrition is to our health, and now is the time to do something about it. With Neovitin Women's Multivitamin, you can give your body sensible doses of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants to support your daily health. Created by a St. Louis physician, Neovitin Women's Multivitamin is formulated with our proprietary blend for daily support you won't find anywhere else. Best of all, you can get Neovitin Women's Multivitamin delivered right to your door with our convenient monthly subscription. Go to neovitin.com and sign up for a subscription today.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go: shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms: irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Did you know that Pepto-Bismol provides fast 5-symptom relief for nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, and diarrhea? Of course you do, because everyone knows the Pepto song. But did you know that Pepto also comes in convenient and delightful solid forms?
Pepto has very fast melt cherry chewables, liquid caps that make relief easy.
Pepto makes relief on the go easy. So when you overdo it, undo it with Pepto. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com or call us toll-free at 888-367-6512.
It's time to get your body in shape for the warm weather, and Victory Men's Health can help. Mark Cox here for my friends at Victory. They've got semaglutide for ladies and men, and all you need to do is go to victorymenshealth.com to find out more. They've got 4 convenient locations now: Sunset Hills, Wing Haven, Town and Country, and O'Fallon, Illinois. A simple blood test, and you could be on the path to losing up to 15% of your body weight. Tell them Mark Cox sent you. Go to victorymenshealth.com.
Every evening this week, the Republican National Convention is here. From 8 to 10, we're bringing you the convention plus live coverage. The Republican National Convention, every evening this week on St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Oh, welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry, Ryan Recker Radio. If you want to look me up online, Ryan Wiggins here too. 2 Ryans. What did we call this? The Manny Fry Show, when she's out and it's just a bunch of dudes in the studios.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the Manny Fry Show. 2 Ryans for the price of 1.
And Ethan, the producer behind the board. So thank you for joining us here today. I'll be back again tomorrow as well, as long as they will have me. And Ryan Wiggins, I hope you're back again tomorrow, but I understand if, let's say, a big TV producer messages you back and you need to start production on a show right away, I would understand. Just so you know, I wouldn't take it personal.
Yeah, that's very common. Somebody messages you, go, I need you to go into production today. Here's $3 million.
Perfect. Is that how much you pitch? You need $3 million?
Not even that. I mean, we're not even pitching that. We're to the point where, like, you know what? If you can give us a ham sandwich, we will do anything you want. It's we're at that level. We're really high on the ladder, Ryan.
Your Blair Witch style filming that you just need a camcorder with a VHS tape and you're good to go. But there's some reason they won't go through. What does that say about your project?
Yeah, it says it's terrible. We get the meetings and just so that they can tell us how bad we suck.
So I saw this opinion piece in Newsweek, and I'll just read the headline. Iran's plot to kill Trump shows truth about quote unquote moderate new leader. Do we need to just admit that any Middle Eastern country that calls themselves moderate is still planning to assassinate world leaders? Like, what would you call like a real moderate? Because even if you look at Saudi Arabia, they'll take journalists and torture them and kill them, from Western countries. Is there such thing as moderates when it comes to some of these nations that claim they are? Can you think of one that's a moderate? I can't.
I not really. I mean, even Saudi Arabia, who typically is a moderate country. I mean, maybe some of those like big money countries like Dubai would be moderate.
Dubai, okay. I don't think they have assassination attempts against world leaders, regularly speaking.
It's funny how much money, when money gets involved, they become real moderate because they're like, let's just keep everything the way it is. We like this.
Oh, they like prosperity. I see.
Yeah.
So when they do not have prosperity, then things are very much up in the air. I get that. The attempt that Iran was going to try to take the life of Donald Trump comes out the week after an actual attempt on his life happened in Pennsylvania. And what a story. I know this has been talked about so many times on radio stations. Can I give you 2 observations that come to mind? One, you notice music stations are afraid to bring up maybe perhaps the biggest news story of the year. Like music stations, they want to stay away from anything political, or excuse me, music stations want to stay away from anything political, and they're afraid to touch things like this, even when a former president and the probably the person that's going to be the next president of the United States has a attempt on his life. To me, that seems like a major mistake. But then again, I'm not in music radio, so maybe it's a good strategy. Number two, this was one of those news stories that I thought I got to call everyone I know to see if they're watching this. When was the last time you saw a news story like that? Like, oh, I better call so and so to see if they're watching or listening. That was one of the takeaways. The different level of just how big of a news story it is, to me, elevates when you have the impulsion to call people on the phone and say, "Are you watching this?"
Yeah, I agree 100%. This, to me, and actually Ethan and I talked about this a little off air yesterday. This was a "where were you" moment. And these don't happen that often that you can say, well, I remember exactly where I was when I heard about blank. And the only ones that we could come up with in our lifetime, and I do put this one in that category. I think this is one where most Americans will know where they were, what they were doing when they heard, because the initial news wasn't, at least for me, it wasn't, oh, the president had his ear shot. It was the president has been shot, and you didn't know.
Oh, no. That wasn't the initial news. Did you see CNN, MSNBC?
Oh, yes.
The initial news was loud noises and the president escorted, or a Secret Service escorts the president off stage after loud
my
noises.
gosh, yeah.
It's the ridiculous headlines.
One of them was
denying what they saw.
And I don't remember if this was Denver Post or somebody like that, but they said president falls down on stage. He was like, are you kidding me? And there's gunshots. You can't just report that. Like, how, I get being careful, but come on. Anyway, but I was not watching the news when this happened. I was in my car. So I get texts from a bunch of friends of mine that said, hey, are you seeing this? The president's been shot. So that's all I knew. And I was with my son, and I said, Sinjin, I don't know what's going to happen right now, but I can tell you this, that what we're going to experience in the next 15 minutes is something you will remember as a 10-year-old for the rest of your life. I don't know what it is, but you will remember this, so pay attention. And he was like, okay. And then, I started trying to scroll through, and I did find one, and now this was the exception. I found one music station, and I was in maybe the most conservative part of the entire country. I was in between Springfield and Branson, Missouri. I was driving, and I found one music station. The guy gets on, and he reported it and talked about how horrific it was, but I barely hear it because it was like deep AM. And I will say that it is a moment that I will always remember where I was, and I think most Americans will. And there's I would say maybe 2 or 3 of those in my entire lifetime that I could say that about.
You were listening to music on AM radio. Is that what you just admitted to when in Missouri?
Well, I was trying to find the news on AM, and I could barely hear it because it was like 600 AM or something random.
Yeah.
And I finally found a music station. Well, they weren't talking about it, but the guy broke in and did say that. So isn't
that like a sad set of affairs for radio, that there's such a huge news story and no one around to report it because on the weekends mostly radio stations are empty? Isn't that sad?
That's a fact.
It's totally depressing. And when I was I saw it on Twitter first. I was on, and Jonathan Turley tweeted like, hey, this just happened. Like it sure looks like the president had shots taken at him. And I started to try to find information on it, and I realized that all the headlines were like, we don't want to get sued or say the wrong thing, so we're going to be extra careful. But if you watch the video, Secret Service don't jump in for nothing, number one. Number two, he gets up and he's got blood on his head. So I don't think it's much of a stretch to put in your headline, looks like someone took shots at the president or something along those lines. But they were afraid to do that is very telling to me as well. And that is really bad.
And you know what the problem is that everybody waits for somebody else to say it to feel like they can put the culpability on somebody else. So it's usually the Associated Press. They go, oh, what's Reuters saying? What's the Associated Press saying? Before they'll ever report on it. And that's exactly what happened. The AP would not say assassination attempt for like a day. I mean, they really were really, they would say gunshots later in the day, but they would not say assassination attempt when everybody knew that's what it was. And again, I get trying to be accurate, but when it's before your eyes and the people, I mean, we have live video all over the world watching it happen and you won't say it. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So this is a very important thing to point out when it comes to modern newsrooms. Are they waiting as if they need permission from the government to report a certain thing? So let's say they know it happened. They have witnesses reporting what happened. I mean, lots of witnesses. They can see the video evidence itself, exactly what happened. You know that snipers took out someone almost immediately. All of these things, you're waiting for the okay from a government source to say, okay, now you can say this. You got to be independent from the government if you're going to be reporting news. And if you are not independent and you're waiting, then you're just a mouthpiece for whatever spokesperson press release comes out. You don't want to do that. And that's like really telling when it comes to, well, independent journalism or maybe some of these big corporate entities like the MSNBC, CNN's AP, and you can add them to the list too. If that's what they're doing, if that's the directive and the people that are their bosses telling them to do this, and then there is a major issue, and that is another example of it when it comes to modern news.
And sometimes it's just liability, but they'll hide behind liability too, where they say, well, I wouldn't want to report something and then be liable, have to be sued for it. But in this case, all you had to say was an apparent assassination attempt, facts still coming in. That's very easy to do. The other thing that drives me crazy, Ryan, is that these same sources, especially the AP, they will report those things very slowly. But then they'll take the word of Gaza officials. Gaza officials say, 100 people have been killed by an Israeli airstrike. There is no confirmation other than Gaza officials saying it. And they've been known to lie about this stuff like crazy. And they'll just report it.
Yeah, because Hamas runs them.
Exactly.
So it's a mouthpiece for Hamas. They'll be quick to do that. But let me use another example. Donald Trump does a rally, and he uses the term bloodbath, referring to your jobs are going to be eliminated. He's here in Michigan or whatever, and he's talking about automotive jobs. If Joe Biden gets his way, it's going to be a bloodbath. And he's specifically in the speech referring to the jobs of the auto workers, because that's who he's talking to. Now, AP and all these other, all they do is put in the headline, Donald Trump wants talking about a bloodbath if he loses the election. They spin it immediately. They don't care that it's taken completely out of context, and they know it's taken out of context. They run with that. But you have video evidence of someone trying to take the life of a former president of the United States, and you won't put that in the headline? That says something to me.
Or how about the current president of the United States and others who continue to say Donald Trump is going to be a dictator. He said so himself. Yeah. And if you look up that clip, anybody anywhere can look up the clip where it's Sean Hannity asking Donald Trump, are you really going to be a dictator? That's what they keep saying. He goes, well, on day one, because I'm going to open up the pipelines. That's the answer. And they just say, oh, well, he said he was going to be a dictator on day one. And then in the same speech say Donald Trump lies a lot. This is the world we're living in, and it's great to be able to vent on radio, because I know a lot of people don't have this, but it does drive you crazy.
Yeah, and you know what? Joe Biden did it just recently. He sat down with Lester Holt, did an interview, and Lester Holt was like, are you second guessing some of the words you're using? Bloodbath, dictator, things like that. And of course, he spins it, and Joe Biden answers the question he wants to answer, which is, why aren't you talking about Donald Trump lying all the time? And then he, again, reiterates the dictator line. He says he's going to be a dictator. He says that lie again after he's called out for these lies of himself and these type of rhetoric that they're using in the context of, maybe you better simmer down when you say you got someone in the crosshairs, or whatever the phrase he used, or was it bullseye or crosshairs? I can't remember which one the president said, but Lester Holt's like, okay, are you going to have a little soul searching that perhaps maybe these aren't the right phrases to use, considering that this literally just happened? And Joe Biden says, no. He said he's going to be a dictator. Why aren't you focusing on that? is just days after an assassination attempt. Very, again, telling to me, because they're not going to. And they're going to keep running that, because just like, Project 2025 or anything like that, that's all they really care about. They just got to get that verbiage out that they're told to get out, whatever their PR person may be, Chuck Schumer. And as long as they get the key phrases out, a mission accomplished, because they think that's what their best strategy to win is. I don't agree with it, and I don't think a lot of other people agree with it either, but maybe it's a less desperate play, a Hail Mary play for them at this point.
I think they're all Hail Marys at this point.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, let's talk to Brad Young from Harris Dowell, Fisher & Young. He is a brilliant legal mind. Whenever there's anything legal going on, Supreme Court going on, I'll message him and I'll say, hey, what do you think about this? And on top of that, I'll say things like stupid legal questions like, hypothetically, if this happened, what would he takes all my stupid questions and he answers them as if I'm serious. So I truly appreciate him for that. We got some very serious questions about the way the Supreme Court proposing to change it according to Joe Biden. I wanted to ask him about that, maybe get a little bit of the historical background of why we do things the way we do. He has a great admiration for the Supreme Court. I know a lot of people in law do. So let's have that conversation with Brad Young coming up after the break. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry on 97.1 FM Talk.
Cassens, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. I appreciate Cassens & Sons so much for being reliable, for being good people, and of course, selling me multiple great vehicles that I can enjoy riding in and feel safe putting my kids in. I trust Cassens & Sons, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, and I hope you'll give them an opportunity to earn your business. If I need to purchase a vehicle, I'm going to go to a place that I know that I can trust them, that I know that they're going to give me the fairest price on the vehicle, that is going to be a quality vehicle, that they're going to make it right, and that they're going to provide me the service that goes along with that purchase well past the time that we make that purchase. 618-800-2712, 618-800-2712. Call them directly and tell them that Annie sent you. They're located on 159, just about a mile north off of 270. It's very easy to get to, and I promise you, if you're looking for a place to buy a car or you can put your trust in the hands of the people selling it to you, it's Cassens. CassensSons.com.
Joe Biden and the radical left opened our borders. They sent border wall materials to the scrapyard and let in more than 7 million illegal immigrants. Why? They think they're importing future Democrat voters, changing our elections forever. Mary Elizabeth Coleman is fighting back. She's a conservative mom on a mission, running for Secretary of State to save the integrity of our elections. Here's Mary Elizabeth Coleman.
There are 77,000 illegals in Missouri. This isn't just an invasion, it's an occupation. I'm Mary Elizabeth Coleman, and I'm running for Secretary of State to save the sanctity of your vote and mine. I'll fight election fraud and ballot harvesting, and I will never let illegal immigrants dilute your vote. And I will stand up to the woke radicals who want to censor our speech, persecute people of faith, and repeal our Second Amendment rights. I'm Mary Elizabeth Coleman, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Friends of Mary Elizabeth Coleman.
The whole body deodorant that's clinically proven to control odor for 72 hours on pits, feet, privates, and beyond. It's pH optimized to safely and effectively control odor anywhere you have it, but wish you didn't. Plus, it's proven to work better than a shower with soap alone. Whether you shower twice a day or 3 times a week, Lumi works better. And who doesn't want zero body odor? With over 200,000 5-star reviews, I'm so sure you're going to love it, or you can return it for free.
For a limited time, new and returning customers can go to LUMEdeodorant.com and save up to 30% on products like the Lumi Starter Pack, Acidified Body Wash, or new Lumi Plus Sweat Control. Plus, get free shipping when you use the Black Friday in July code listed on site. That's LUMEdeodorant.com to save up to 30% today. LUMEdeodorant.com. See site for details. That's LUMEdeodorant.com.
They're pounding on the door. They're calling on the phone. They're threatening to close your business. If debt has your business on the brink, call Ray Reynolds, the godfather of credit. For over 40 years, Ray Reynolds has helped thousands of customers get millions in cash credit. It's no wonder why they call Ray the godfather of credit. He may even be able to raise your score above 750 before the end of the year. You could even get a new personal or business credit line up to $50,000 within days. If your credit needs a rebuild, call Ray Reynolds and receive a $1,000 cash credit
credit card at closing. Raise your credit score to 750 or more. Call Ray Reynolds at 800-576-2295. 800-576-2295. Learn about Ray's secrets to success and how he can fix and improve your credit score to 750 or more. Call the godfather of credit rebuild, Ray Reynolds, at 800-576-2295. 800-576-2295.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. 9 out of 10 homes are under-insulated. Is yours? Did you know that there's an R value associated with insulation? To find out your R value or for a free insulation estimate, visit aircomfortservice.com.
The Mark Reardon Show.
Jennings keeping it real. What do you think about J.D. Vance in the pick?
I think that it's a pick that you make when you're confident. I think Trump feels confident. I think it's a pick that he's comfortable with. You know, he's a vibes guy. And I also think it's a succession plan for the MAGA movement.
Weekdays from 3 to 6.
Give me a second, I need to get my story straight. My friends are in the bathroom getting...
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry. You can find me online at Ryan Recker for Twitter, Ryan Recker Radio for Facebook. And joining us now, fantastic legal mind. He always humors my stupid legal questions. And he joins us from Hairstyle Fisher and Young. Brad Young, how are you, sir?
Mr. Recker, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, sir. And by the way, I know you texted me this yesterday, but I want to answer your question very quickly. And the answer is yes, that forcing a prisoner on death row to eat a McRib sandwich as his last meal would, in fact, violate the Eighth Amendment prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment. Just to answer your question, forcing him to eat that McRib would be cruel and unusual punishment.
I know. There's so many other people that would enjoy eating that McRib. You don't have to waste it on someone that doesn't want it. Well, I guess it's a mystery what's in that patty. So,
that's a mystery. Yes, that is. In fact, that's a mystery that not even I am able to solve.
Do we want to know? Probably
no,
not.
We don't want to know.
So there's speculation. It looks pretty certain that Joe Biden is going to put his support behind perhaps some Supreme Court reform. Leading up to this, I think some of the proposals were stacking the court, meaning, hey, it's conservative leaning, meaning that it's constitutionally leaning at this time. You have less liberal activists on the bench. So it is now going the way of constitutional reason. So that's something that a lot of liberals don't like. It's been a liberal court for years and decades. But really, the tide changed with Donald Trump. You get a couple of Supreme Court justices seated, 3 of them. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, maybe one of the biggest liberal activists on the court, leaves through death. And this is what we find. Their solution to this was stack the court. I don't think a lot of people thought that was a serious thing. However, I think that these proposals seem a lot more serious from the Biden camp. And I wanted to go through a couple of things. Now, on a legal standpoint, let me start with this question. Is it dangerous to put let's say, to put a head over the Supreme Court? Meaning, is it dangerous, do you think, to say the Supreme Court cannot act independently? We need to better monitor them. Thus, there needs to be someone like the President of the United States monitoring them.
Well, Brian, it specifically goes against the entire concept of separation of powers. We know that that's why our government system is designed the way it is, that you have 3 equal branches of government. If you suddenly make the Supreme Court subject to oversight by the executive branch, meaning the president, then all of a sudden you now only have 2 branches of government, with the Supreme Court being nothing more than an agency under the control of the executive branch. So, yes, constitutionally, that would destroy our entire system of government to do that. But let me go back and address, you talked about court packing. Now, this is not the first idea or the first time this idea has been floated. It was most famously floated by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, because after the Depression, the FDR tried to propose all of these provisions, try to get Congress to pass laws, which they did at his suggestion, and then the court was striking those down as being invalid under the Constitution. The court struck down most of the initial proposals by FDR to fight the Great Depression because they were blatantly unconstitutional. And so FDR comes out, threatens to pack the court, and when he did, it actually impacted the court because the court then started allowing some of these additional measures that were questionably constitutional, but he did it as a public relations threat against the court, and it worked. I don't think that would work today for lots of reasons. We could talk an hour about that alone, but I don't think that PR campaign is going to change Clarence Thomas. I don't think the PR campaign is going to change Alito or any of the other conservatives. So that's really just not going to work. But also his proposals to change literally the nature of the Supreme Court, whether it's to establish an ethics code or to put in term limits, none of those, Ryan, now let me make sure that I'm perfectly clear here, none of those will ever see the light of day, because it would require a constitutional amendment. A constitutional amendment would require 2/3 of both houses of Congress to make that happen, or it would require 3/4 of the states to pass this. None of this is ever going to happen in our lifetimes.
I know that this has been a campaign type of statement that the Biden administration has tried in the past when it comes to adding more Supreme Court justices and just messing with the Supreme Court in general. Let me put it this way. Legal scholars, people that you follow, I know that you have other lawyer friends I'm sure you talk to, maybe at cocktail parties or something, and you're just talking
all the
law.
time.
All the time, yeah. So are they all against this too, the ones that follow the court the closest?
Well, the last time we talked about court packing, I was even talking to some of my liberal friends, and they were against it. Okay, so this is not really a conservative or a liberal issue, but this is a political issue, and that's why this is being used politically by Biden. Now, keep in mind, even though changing, if you want to talk about changing or adding term limits to the court or putting in an ethics code, that would require a constitutional amendment. Even Lawrence Tribe, the most liberal constitutional scholar out there. I mean, to say he's liberal, I think, is insulting because he's more progressive or even socialist than anything else. Even he admits it takes a constitutional amendment. However, having said that, packing the court does not require an amendment because under our Constitution, it never says how many justices we're supposed to have. 150 years ago, I think there was 9 justices, and at one point there may have been 16 justices. Okay, it's fluctuated early on in our republic. And so Congress determines how many justices there are. But even with that, it would require passage in the House, which wouldn't happen. It would require at least 60 votes in the Senate to pass, which is never going to happen. Even if you've got a 50-50 split, even if the Democrats suddenly became more of a majority in the Senate, they're still not going to get 60 to make that happen. So that would require literally an act of Congress, which is not going to happen. So we need to put this in context that this is just a political maneuver by Biden to show his progressive friends, yes, I hear you're frustrated with a court that hasn't gone your way like it did for the last 50 years, and here's what I want to do about it. It's just posturing.
I know that Mitt Romney, and I've said this quote because I think he sums it up best. The Supreme Court having a liberal tilt is not written in the stars. He used that term, written in the stars. And I think that's the right way to put it, because we saw some very liberal activists like Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the bench for all those different years, and we've seen the way that she would go. And, you know, you can say the same about some conservative justices, I guess. But what I'm basically thinking about is when you have Joe Biden using the term dictator for Donald Trump over and over, he's a self-imposed dictator. I would say trying to take over one of the branches of government and putting it under your authority would be something dictator-like, and you would be very afraid not to do that. However, now it sounds like he's trying to propose some of these different things, exactly what you would not want the impression to have if that's what you're calling your opponent over and over again.
Exactly. Well, it's no different, Ryan. It's no different than for the longest time now. We've been hearing that this is a democracy is on the ballot in November. that if you vote for Donald Trump, you could be destroying democracy. And yet the same people who are saying this are the same ones who literally removed a candidate from consideration by the people in Colorado, said you cannot vote for this guy. I mean, that's a Putin move right there, that you cannot even vote for this guy. And one person in Maine, the Secretary of State, one person, not even a court, one person said, under the 14th Amendment, I'm just not going to allow Donald Trump to be on the ballot. So you want to talk about democracy on the ballot? These are the same people who are trying to eliminate democracy in multiple states, and yet these are the same folks who are saying that a vote for Donald Trump will destroy democracy. It's really just projection, I think. I think they look at themselves in the mirror, see what they are, and then project it on the other side.
Yeah, and to be fair, President Obama was like this too. If a Supreme Court case went the other way, he would start talking about dismantling the Supreme Court and trying to make changes to it. I don't know why. It's when you have like a president who's a Democrat in office, they really don't like it when they're told no about something when it comes to the courts. But I got to tell you this, even during Obama's time, it was a pretty liberal court for them to say no to him. That's a big deal.
True. Well, but look at the political side of this, Ryan. Say, for example, let's just spitball here. If Biden comes out and says, we're going to change the Supreme Court, I'm going to do it by an executive order, just like he did with the vaccine mandate, like he did with the eviction moratorium. We're just going to do it by an executive order. All of a sudden today, there's term limits on the Supreme Court. As of today, everyone named Clarence Thomas is no longer eligible to be a Supreme Court member, and we just do this by executive order. And then the court, of course, strikes it down. Then he can go out and say, see, look, this radical conservative court is striking down my attempts to bring fair and balance back to the court. So then it's still a political move even when it gets shot down.
And look at this, too. If you're, let's say, subject to the executive branch and something happens when you look at, quote unquote, an ethics violation, if you're the one that's the head of the executive branch, you're allowed to make decisions of the Supreme Court as the head, then could you technically fire a Supreme Court? And then or say no Clarence is allowed, like it's a club. Like, okay, this is a club, anyone named other than Clarence allowed in here. Or like, let's say term limits. What if they say, because he brings this up, well, anyone that's been serving more than 20 years can't do it anymore. So would that immediately eliminate the justices that are on there for more than 20 years? And then, because we say this kind of jokingly, but I think these are all very valid questions. I think the Biden administration is doing this as a way to try to fundraise from super progressive type of people. Mission accomplished. I think they may be motivated to donate some money if they think this could actually happen. But from a legal standpoint and a justice standpoint, this to me is just an absolute disaster of an idea.
Well, it's a disaster of a policy idea, you're right. But very few things that we talk about are completely black and white, meaning that you can say with absolute certainty. I tell my clients all the time, they ask me percentages on how we're going to win at this trial or what the case is worth, and I leave myself wiggle room. Listen, no wiggle room is even needed here. There is a 0% chance that this can happen. Zero. Because it would require all of the states to be in agreement, which, again, if you talk about red states, blue states, far more red states, never going to happen. At this point, Idaho would have the same pull as California. It's never going to happen. You wouldn't get any of these through Congress. And even if they did, trying to eliminate justices on the court legislatively would be struck down in violation of Article 3 of the Constitution. So these literally have zero chance.
If I was president, the type of executive orders I'd sign, I would make the national sandwich the McRib. Like, that's the stuff I would do. I want to try to dismantle the Supreme Court. Brad Young, hairstyle Fisher and Young, great legal mind. Thank you for entertaining my silly legal questions. This one happens to be a serious one, and you break it down better than anyone else. Thank you so much.
Ryan, it's a pleasure to talk to you, my friends. Good to hear you in St. Louis.
I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry. You can stick around. I would love for you to hang out with us a little bit longer. And coming up after the break, big tech is lining up behind Donald Trump. Why is that? We'll talk to Ryan Wiggins on it too. You're listening to the Annie Fry Show, 97.1 FM Talk.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Interact with Annie on Facebook. The Annie Fry Show.
AirComfortService.com, that's where you can go to learn about the services that are provided by Air Comfort Service. I want to remind you right now that if your air conditioner hasn't been serviced yet, you want to make sure that it's going to run efficiently. You can go to Air Comfort Service and get on a maintenance plan. If you reach out to them, you can ask them how your HVAC system can be maintained for as little as $19 a month. That gives you the peace of mind for when the extreme heat and humidity rises, that you are not going to have to worry about that comfort zone getting snatched up by the summer heat. If your AC starts making a loud noise, if you notice ice on your refrigerant lines, or if your husband does, I'm just to be honest, I have no idea where the refrigerant lines are, but somebody does. And if you have that maintenance plan, you don't have to understand all of that because they come out and they check it monthly for you for a very, very low price, which is going to save you those high cost repairs or potentially replacements. Reach out to Air Comfort Service and set up your maintenance plan today. 314-513-0091. 314-513-0091. AirComfortService.com.
Liberal mega donors are always looking for new rhinos to do their bidding. And with Adam Schnelting, they found their new star. Adam Schnelting has already backed their radical plan to defund our police. And he skipped countless important conservative votes. Skipped a vote to protect kids from sexually explicit materials in school. And skipped a vote to protect churches from junk lawsuits. It's no wonder Adam Schnelting is bankrolled by Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden's top funders. Phil Cristofanelli is the only leader we can trust to protect our conservative priorities. When radicals tried to defund the police, Phil Cristofanelli passed record funding from Missouri's law enforcement. When Joe Biden left our southern border wide open, conservative Phil Cristofanelli banned sanctuary cities and voted to send Missouri National Guard troops to secure the border. Vote Phil Cristofanelli, the proven conservative, for state senate.
Gladius PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by Gladius PAC, and is not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
I was having a lot of sinus infections. My sinuses were clogged, pressure, headaches.
Linda suffered for years with chronic sinus infections.
You don't feel like doing anything. When you feel like your head is completely clogged, all you want to do is just lay down and sleep. And the pressure, it's just not fun, always walking around with a headache.
Now, her issues are gone. How? A minimally invasive procedure done in the office of St. Louis Sinus Centers called balloon sinuplasty.
I really did not know what it was like to feel like you're really breathing and not being so clogged up. I would do it again in a heartbeat, and I would definitely recommend it for someone else.
Do you suffer with chronic sinus infections, facial pain, pressure, congestion? Find out if balloon sinuplasty is the solution for you. Set an appointment today with St. Louis Sinus Centers. Call 314-332-2885. 314-332-2885. That's 314-332-2885.
Hey, St. Louis, are you in search of top-notch cybersecurity solutions? Look no further. ThrottleNet is here to help. Ransomware attacks are on the rise, putting businesses like yours at risk. Don't let cyber criminals jeopardize your hard-earned success. ThrottleNet provides comprehensive cybersecurity services tailored specifically to your unique needs. Our award-winning customer service provides 24/7 protection to keep your data safe and secure. Take charge of your digital security today. Protect your business, protect your future. ThrottleNet.com, your reliable partner in cybersecurity.
More good news for Frederick Roofing, voted best roofing company by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch.
For a hole in your roof or a whole new roof, Frederick Roofing.
314-645-2000.
Just a reminder, if you're not going to be watching it tonight, you should be listening. We have full coverage of the GOP National Convention again tonight. J.D. Vance, the vice presidential nominee, will be speaking, so stay tuned for that. That starts at 8 o'clock tonight. We'll have full coverage even past the convention, as usual. The poll today is regarding this convention. It says, is the GOP convention having an effect on the election? Let us know which one of the three choices there, kind of a gradient of yes, but not really, or a little bit, or none at all. Let us know, and we'll give you the results at the end of the show. It is 1:44 now. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
We're here to help you get registered to vote, whether you're in Missouri or Illinois. Democracy 2024 on 97.1 FM Talk. If you need help getting registered, go to 971talk.com/vote.
A club isn't the best place to
find the lovers, so the bar is where I go.
The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Come over and start up a conversation with just me and trust
Welcome
me, I'll
back.
give it a chance.
I'm Ryan Recker, filling in today, and I love the analysis from Brad Young. He is always so good, and whenever he gets a chance to fill in here too, it's a must listen. And thanks for everyone watching us on the video feed too. And I know people are going to the YouTube poll; they're voting there too. Always good spots to vote. You notice who's voting with their money right now for Donald Trump is the tech giants, some of the big billionaires in Silicon Valley. Wiggins, does that surprise you? Because historically speaking, if you're in California and you got a lot of money, they don't always line up with the Republican candidate. But you had Elon Musk recently come out and say, I'm supporting Donald Trump 100%. And you have some more venture capital billionaires who realize that during the Trump administration, they had it really good. And during the Biden administration, they are not having it as good as they used to. So perhaps maybe they say it's in our best interests to prevent another Biden 4 years. So to me, it doesn't surprise me all that much, but for them to come out and publicly start to state these things, is there any surprises for you?
Well, the only thing that doesn't surprise me about it is that people are finally figuring out that a better economy is better for business, and a bigger middle class is better for business, which has been shrinking in the last few years. But it does surprise me just because of Silicon Valley. I mean, this is not a conservative place at all. You do have business people there, which sometimes they can lean right economically, but certainly socially they're not conservative usually. Mm-hmm. I did not know, though, until you just said it, that other tech leaders are lining up behind Trump. I knew about Elon Musk, and that's a big one, and it's a lot of money, but I didn't know about the others.
Yeah, so venture capitalist billionaires Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz, they said, will make donations to Trump's reelection efforts. Axios has learned. Techno-optimists, they say, are following hot heels of Elon Musk that would endorse Trump and form a PAC to aid to his campaign. There's one thing that comes to mind, I think, what might be happening here. When you have Democrats in power in Congress, they seem to overregulate on things that they don't know. And what are all these tech companies doing? They are putting almost all in on AI right now when it comes to computers, to try to get them up to date in order to make sure they can handle the workload of artificial intelligence. When it comes to the technology behind it, they are all in. So maybe they're a little bit worried that the billions of dollars they're putting into this right now will get let's say, Kamala Harris stepping in for Joe Biden or whatever. And they want to overregulate AI and completely destroy all of the investments in progress they've made so far. You think that could be a part of it?
Yeah, I think so. These are all, there's a lot of self-preservation in all this stuff, which is okay. I mean, that's really supposed to be what capitalism is that the government kind of stays out of it and lets business decide what's best for business. We've just seen the thumb on business for so long. I think socially pressuring businesses to be a part of whatever woke agenda is happening in the moment, that I'm glad to see that not just people are standing up to it, but that the environment is actually right for people to kind of move away from that stuff finally.
Also, tech giants. Can I give you another tech story?
Please.
In Switzerland, the first use of the suicide pod is out. So are you familiar with the suicide pod?
No, but I think I understand what it might be. Is it a
All right,
guillotine inside of a box?
No, it's a little bit more humane than that.
Okay.
So have you seen Superman in the shuttle that baby Superman traveled from? Yeah. What's the planet he's from? Not Krypton. Krypton?
Yeah, it's Krypton.
It looks just like that. So it looks like the pod they put Superman in crash lands into Earth in Kansas. And basically this pod, you go into the pod and they just pump it full of gases until you die. And it's supposed to be a humane way of suicide. And then I guess there's someone on the outside that's like looking you in the eye when this happens. I don't know. It'd be strange, I think. But then they just dispose of your body after. A lot of them, since it's Switzerland, have to be economically conscious. So they put you into a garden and you become compost at that point. So Assisted Dying Group expect the portable suicide pods to be used for the first time within months. And I don't know how many people would take this option, but that's also tech companies right now building suicide pods.
You know what? I haven't heard that story yet, but as you were talking about it and I was thinking about it, I don't think I would do it.
The pod?
Yeah, I don't think I would do it because I think like you're dying, Like
what if you go to a spa and you're like, oh, this looks so relaxing. You don't know what it is.
I was really trying to figure out the direction you were going there, Ryan.
I was looking at Ethan the whole time, seeing how long I could hold and
so
see.
serious. And he just I don't think, I'm like, where's he going to go with this? And then he just pulls out because, you'd be dead.
Yeah.
I mean, really, have they, how do they test this? On monkeys and stuff? Like, what are they doing?
I think they just know if they pump you with these certain gases, it's over. Like, you're just comfortably going to fall under into a sleep. So basically, this is big business over there in Switzerland. Do you think it's going to be a tourist attraction? Like, people go there just for that?
I hope not. It doesn't seem like something that people would be attracted to. Who I really think would be attracted to this thing though, is the YOLO crowd. Like anybody who walks around yelling YOLO, they might be like, you know what? Let's go to Sweden. Let's get in a death pod.
You know what YOLO stands for, right?
Yeah. I know exactly what it stands for.
The irony here is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
So the inside of this pod's lined like a coffin almost, but it's, maybe like a little bit nicer. And there's just a little button you push apparently, and it releases a bunch of nitrogen until there's not enough oxygen inside. So it just makes you comfortably gone at that point. And the person commits the lethal act themselves. There's not someone on the outside that has to do it. I wonder if the light blinks to try to help the user friendliness of it. And then what happens if you decide not to? Do you just open it up and say, "Oh, that's the best rest I've ever had"?
Yeah,
You use it as a sleeping mechanism.
That's what I was going to ask. What if you press the button or whatever, and then you quickly realize, I don't want to die. Can you be let out? Is it too late at that point? Sorry, you signed up. You're what happens then?
Tech companies, isn't that something this is big business for them? And they have in some of the photos they show the company that makes these, they're like models, on The Price is Right, they're standing next to it and they're kind of showing it off. No Superman's coming back from something like this though.
You know what I can almost guarantee though is what's going to happen is somebody. I mean, this almost seems like a Twilight Zone episode ready to happen, like a social commentary thing. Somebody who is semi-famous online. They're an influencer. They're going to go there and toy around with this thing and maybe die. They're going to present it as, I might kill myself. We're going to see how this thing works. Somebody's going to do that, and they probably will accidentally die.
Mm-hmm. What if this would be a weird thing for our industry? If you're a voiceover actor and you get this script, I need you to read this, please. Okay, you're looking, okay, I wonder what this job is. All right, they're paying pretty good, $100 to read this piece of paper. All right, let's see. If you want to die, press this button. That's literally what it says inside. There's a voice actor that recorded that. They listen to it, and then the light starts blinking. If you want to die, press this button. You have an option of the last voice, like Samuel L. Jackson or something. Remember how GPSs for a while, you got to pick a celebrity voice. It was kind of like a novelty.
Yeah.
What if you get to pick your option of who that last voice is? Maybe they need to pump maybe a little encouragement. You don't have to do this, right? You can still leave.
Yeah. Have Sarah Michelle Gellar say that. Somebody that you like.
Is this your script that you've been pitching that keeps getting turned down to Netflix and places like that?
Yeah. And whenever I do, they're like, this isn't actually a script. It's a death pod. And I'm like, shoot. I was talking to the wrong guy. I thought you were the death pod people of Sweden, not Netflix.
Yeah, right. Can I ask you more about this process of you pitching shows? Why? Why do you want to be part of Hollywood and all that stuff? Isn't that scary to you?
I want to go to the parties. They look super fun. And
you mean the ones with cocaine?
Well, I mean, yeah, that looks like a lot of fun. I don't know how much I would dip into it, but I'd probably get a nose full and just see how the night went. I don't know. I just like making I like making Ethan laugh, first of all. And then second, I like making content. I can't, Ryan, you probably know this about me. I think you've read my book. I can't stop writing. So when I just keep writing stuff and I write scripts and I'm like, eventually maybe one of these is going to take, and hopefully they do. Otherwise, I will have wasted a lot of my life. So I have to keep pitching it to justify the amount that I like writing.
Yep. I think we need to be clear. I just need to make a correction. I did not read your book. I forced my wife to read the book,
Forced
and then I
your
brought you
wife.
on my show.
That's right.
To then review the book on the show. So I outsourced that, and she did like the book, just so you know.
Well, she
I
had
think
to
we told
because you
that.
forced her to.
Yeah. No. She would have told me. She would have been honest if she didn't like it. No, she actually thought it was a very unique concept. And I told you this before, and I'll just say it again. The thing she was most impressed with, she's like, wow, how did he do that? Like she couldn't believe you, Ryan Wiggins, was capable of doing something to that quality.
That's great, because that means I'm doing exactly what I want to do, which is always set the bar really low so that people, when they meet you or experience anything that you've done, they go, dang, that was actually decent. And I thought you were awful. Like, I thought you were a terrible person, and yet you made this? How's that possible? Very impressed. 5 stars.
Yes, I know. 5 stars indeed. The book on Amazon now, it's called Being Human?
No.
No.
But you're close.
What was it?
The Life of Human.
Life of Human. Yes,
Yes.
that's right. I apologize. Let's get a couple sales today. Life of Human. Just go to Amazon. You know what? You're in the mood. You're shopping because it's Prime Day. Just pick up a book, add it to your cart, and put it with the rest of your purchases. Life of Human. And
Life
you
of
know
Human
what?
Wiggins, it'll come up pretty much wherever.
Yep, just go do that. This was not a paid endorsement, but just go do it. And seriously, if you are shopping on Amazon, just do a quick search, Life of Human. You're not even going to notice because you're buying all this other stuff from Amazon right now. And you'd be doing a really cool thing for Ryan Wiggins. And you'll like the book when you read it too, or give it as a gift.
Yeah, and we can talk at the next event. So you can come up and say, I read your book, and then we can say, oh my gosh, we're like best friends. We are such good friends now. That's what's in store for you.
All right. When we come back on the show, the national anthem at the All-Star game, I guess you guys haven't played this yet. Let's listen to it together. Is it really as bad as everyone's saying? I'm Ryan Ricker, filling in 97.1 FM.
I'm in love with your body.
Mosquitoes suck. And they literally do. Mosquitoes suck the blood out of your body. Get rid of them. You don't want mosquitoes around you. You don't want them around the kids or the grandkids. That's where Point Pest Control comes in. 636-798-0023. 636-798-0023. If you have pests invading your home, your business, your yard, Point Pest Control can cover you on both sides of the river. This is really important. I've talked a lot about my my just absolute appreciation for Point Pest Control taking care of my spider problem in my house. When you want them dead, gone, bye, that's when you call Point Pest Control. They are on both sides of the river in Illinois and Missouri, and they are there to help you with your immediate problem, but also, like me, I am a premium quarterly service customer. I'm very happy every quarter when they come by and they spray again, and I realize, oh my gosh, I haven't seen any bugs since they were here last time. It's working. Make sure it works for you as well. Drop the any name in there and save 10% on top of whatever they've got running. 636-798-0023. Point with an E, pointpestcontrol.com.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the Protecting Your Retirement Educational event, Tuesday, August 6th. It's at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30 p.m. Seats are limited, so go online at retirementkey.com. Here's Thomas and Bob with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired and wondering what to do with your life savings? Are you concerned how a major market correction will affect your retirement? Would you like to have a personalized, structured income plan that shows you the monthly income you'll receive in retirement and how to never outlive it?
Did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any more losses? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Protect your retirement nest egg and join the official financial advisors of my show, Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw, Tuesday, August 6th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30 p.m. Go online at retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
Are you the parent of a 2 to 7-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting free radio offer. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse, the Parents' Choice Award-winning online learning program that's actually changing the lives of early learners everywhere.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
Right now, we're offering a special radio promo to try it free for a month, but you have to go to abcmouse.com/radio to claim your free month. That's abcmouse.com/radio.
Sponsored by Age of Learning.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio.
That's GetJim.com.
97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Vice President's first public remarks about the Trump assassination attempt. Lisa Brady, Fox News. At a campaign event in Michigan, Vice President Kamala Harris calls the shooting a heinous and cowardly act.
My husband Doug and I are thankful he was not seriously injured. That day, as soon as we saw what was happening, we said a prayer for his well-being.
She also repeats President Biden's call for unity.
And there must be unity around the idea that while our nation's history has been scarred by political violence, violence is never acceptable. There can be no equivocation about that.
But Harris is also calling for a vigorous and civil exchange of ideas as the campaign continues. President Biden will speak to Latino supporters in Las Vegas today, just hours after another Democrat defection in Congress from California Congressman Adam Schiff.
He says in the LA Times, the choice to withdraw from the campaign is President Biden's alone, but that he believes it is time for Biden to pass the torch and secure his legacy of leadership by allowing another Democrat to beat Trump. And remember, Biden is saying he's not going to leave, but it could happen. The DNC is delaying those plans to possibly nominate President Biden virtually before the convention.
Fox's Peter Doocy at the White House. The DNC Rules Committee says no virtual voting would happen before August 1st. Lawmakers getting virtual briefings today from the FBI and Secret Service. Fox's Chad Pergram on the Hill.
There are two levels of exasperation among lawmakers. First, how did the Secret Service fail in such breathtaking fashion? And secondly, lawmakers are seething about a dearth of information. House Speaker Mike Johnson intends to fix that.
The House Speaker plans a special task force. The House Oversight Committee chair just issuing a subpoena for the Secret Service director to appear at a Monday hearing. America is listening to Fox News.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be a sign that your digestive system isn't working at its best? Taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil fiber powders help promote your daily digestive health using a plant-based fiber called psyllium. The gelling action of this special fiber traps and removes waste so you can feel lighter and more energetic. Metamucil, promoting digestive health for a better you. Learn more at metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
The northwest flow going to try to dry things out over the next several days, but there's still a lot of low-level humidity in place due to the Tuesday rains. Partly sunny skies this afternoon. We'll keep an eye out for a couple of spot storms, 85. Tonight, clear skies, 63. Thursday, sunny. Nice, though still a little humid, 81. Friday, sunny and 81. Saturday and Sunday, partly sunny, 83. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Bery.
Well, there's a very good chance as you've driven down your street, you have admired houses in your neighborhood that have been covered in Rhino Shield, and you don't even know it. Except if you pay close attention, you'll notice that they're not being repainted every couple of years. What I mean is same bright, vivid colors that you would choose with regular paint, except that Rhino Shield lasts, and you're going to get a 25-year warranty with it. I've got it on my house. And I mean, it looks like it did the day they put it on. It lasts and lasts. It's lab tested to last that long against chipping or peeling or cracking. And they put this on businesses as well. Condo units from Springfield, Illinois, all the way down to the Lake of the Ozarks. You can find it. And my friend Darren will be happy to come over and give you a free evaluation of your home All you have to do is call him. Tell him you heard Mark Cox talking about it. 877-25-RHINO or online at 877-25rhino.com.
If you have a problem with the IRS, believe me, it's not going away on its own. The IRS never gives up. They have endless resources, so they control the game. Well, your tax problems can end. I'm attorney Lance Drury with the Drury Law Firm, a local tax resolution firm with an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau. I've handled thousands of IRS cases over the last 15 years. So when you hire me, you won't be speaking long distance or sending money to some TV pitchman that's riddled with consumer complaints. Your first visit is completely free and confidential, and I'll tell you on the spot exactly how much it will cost. So call me, Lance Drury, at 314-260-6120. That's 314-260-6120. Or go to Lance, D-R-U-R-Y, law.com. If you have IRS issues, you need a local attorney, you need me, Lance Drury.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Del Walmsley and the Wealth Cycle.
This is the wealth cycle that I've taught for 30 years. Buy one house, 10 houses, an apartment, 2 apartments, 8, 20, 500 units, 1,000 units, 2,000, 5,000 units. And as you keep putting the money and the profits back in, you become one of those rich people. And much quicker than you'd even believe.
Learn Del's Wealth Cycle at GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. Use promo code 2024. Save 60%. Code 2024. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
Every evening this week, the Republican National Convention is here. From 8 to 10, we're bringing you the convention plus live coverage. The Republican National Convention, every evening this week on St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Oh, and welcome back. Another hour of the Annie Fry Show. I'm Ryan Recker filling in. You can find me online, Ryan Recker Radio, Facebook there, Ryan Recker on Twitter. And we do have a YouTube poll question that is up. There's still some time to go and vote on that. Wiggins, what is the live chat poll?
Yeah, anytime before 3, you just vote on how you feel about this question. Is the GOP convention having an effect on the election? Not necessarily with you, but is it going to have an effect in general on the election? Let us know what you think.
We give our answers later, too. I don't want to say it yet, just in case.
We can give them really whenever you want. Typically, we'll wait until closer to the end, but it's up to you.
Okay, that works. Did you see any of the MLB All-Star Game or the Home Run Derby this week?
I haven't seen much of it at all, but the resident baseball expert happens to be in the room, Ethan, so I'm sure he can fill us in depending on how much you've watched, I guess.
Yeah, I was able to watch a good portion of both of them, and I think you could argue that, it was fun, it was entertaining, but perhaps the most entertaining part wasn't even what happened during the play.
I think major kudos for that transition and that setup, Ethan.
That's very good job.
I got to say, that was really good because what really people are talking about is the national anthem that happened before the Home Run Derby. And I don't know this artist, Ingrid Andress. Apparently she's won Grammys and she's a country star. Did you know her before this? I did not.
I've heard the name.
I did not know who she was.
But I didn't know. No.
Okay, so it's pretty bad, this national anthem rendition. I think most people would agree. Let's play some of it and take a listen if we could.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallant
Oh no. Oh boy.
Wow. That's the first time I've heard that.
That's a little rough, huh? Oh boy.
Goosebumps.
So, is this why Whitney Houston, even during the Super Bowl, decided to lip sync the national anthem? That was recorded and replayed.
She may have rolled over in her grave hearing that.
She did, though. Oh, yeah, Whitney Houston. Yeah. Anyone that can perform it live renditions like that. Is this the reason why they lip synced, number one? But number two, there's a reason why her performance was subpar. Did you see why? I'll give you a guess if you have not.
So this is the only thing I have. I hadn't actually heard the anthem. I saw people talking about it and talking about her response of what happened. So I have seen this part.
Okay. So she said she was drunk, and then she put out a statement that said, "I'm checking myself into a facility today to get the help I need." I'm guessing she overserved herself or someone overserved her. And if you're going into like a performance, let me just say this. If your job is to do the national anthem and it's like really, 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 really important to you that you just perform this one job, or let's say there's players on the field. Let's say your starting pitcher is in the World Series and you see them chugging Jack Daniels before the game. You're probably, hey, put that down right now. You can't have any of this. Apparently they let her go through with this, it sounds like. And she went up onto the field, did her thing, left. The whole world made fun of her. They said, "Oh, this is terrible." And now she's like, "Okay, this is why I was drunk and now I need to get help." Then people start to feel really bad. Like, "Oh boy, okay, maybe we might have been a little hard on you, but I'm glad you're getting the help."
I have seen a lot of, hey, since we've been talking about being in the entertainment industry, my television company used to have an entertainment lawyer based in Chicago who was a lawyer for a lot of big stars. And just talking to him kind of off the record, he would talk about how this world works, where somebody goes out, does something or says something stupid, or maybe even not stupid, but just that they wish they wouldn't have said because somebody says, "Hey, that was insensitive," or whatever. They never, ever, ever draft their own apology, or usually it's an apology. Sometimes it'll be a rebuttal. But most of the time, it's an apology and, "Oh, I really feel bad about that. I retract my statement. I shouldn't have done that, blah, blah, blah."
I retract my national anthem.
Whatever it was. So most of the time when you hear these things, they're not actually the person saying it. They have a team of people, which is probably no big surprise, but it's true. They have a team of people who come out and say, "Here's how to handle this the best to make it go away as fast as possible." That said,
you don't believe she's in rehab?
What I'm saying is I actually do believe this, because it does sound like if she's a Grammy Award-winning artist, she clearly can sing better than that. She sounds like in this anthem, like she's just a really bad singer, and this would have been another explanation if you really wanted to, use something and not say, "Well, I'm an alcoholic." You could have said, "Look, the mic that I had in my ear had a 1-second delay on it." Have you ever tried doing something with a delay?
Yeah,
It's
but you know
awful.
what?
Isn't that most anthems though? At most stadiums, there's a tends to be an echo from the speakers.
Yeah, but they
I
don't end up like that.
Yeah, Steven Tyler, that happened to him. He took his earpiece out and performed it without it and did fantastic. So true pros can do it. I just wanted to correct myself because I said the wrong thing. She's a 4-time Grammy nominee. I screwed up. I didn't put that nominee in there. So I just wanted to mention that real quick. When it comes to like politicians, for example, number one, no one apologizes anymore. So it's kind of a fresh thing that someone that did something not great came out and actually said, "I'm sorry, I was drunk and I'm going to get help." That's actually pretty refreshing, because I think that the way she's handling it should be handled more often. Like, this is a rare thing, and that's the sad thing, that this is rare.
I mean, to be fair, it probably saved her career, her putting that out there. I mean, if you don't, then, and if people don't know that, then what are they thinking of you? You just performed the worst anthem of all time.
That's 100% true. I completely agree with that, which means it could be PR that's coming out and saying this. However, if you are a 4-time Grammy nominee, with all respect to the Grammys, you know how to, even if you're a bad singer and they put you through auto-tune about 50 times before you put your record out, you still can hold the tune better than that. So there's something going on there, and being drunk is a very good possibility of what was going on there, because that's terrible.
Yep. And what's the excuses of all these other performers that have done terrible national anthems in the past? Speaking of music, I guess, and singing, did you see the whole Jack Black, Tenacious D controversy that happened? I think they were in Australia doing a concert. And so Jack Black, he not only is a musician, I think that's the way he started, was music, but also an actor, very funny comedian. And like the roles he plays, he's just the big dude that's, very energetic, and he yells and screams, and he can, he's kind of like the Chris Farley in that sense. Like, for a big dude, he can make some pretty big moves. But he was always looked at as a good guy. Like in the industry, people would look like, oh, that Jack Black's a good guy. Like, oh, he looks like he donated all this money here. He supported this cause. Like, oh, he's always like done a good job at his public image. And then he goes on stage, and apparently this is what happened on stage. Sydney, Australia on Sunday, Kyle Gass is the musician that he plays with. It's like a 2-person band. Gass was presented with a birthday cake and was asked to make a wish by Jack Black. And Gass responded, quote, "Don't miss Trump next time." Now, this is in response to the failed assassination attempt to Donald Trump's life. Well, as you can imagine, not everyone took that the right way, as they shouldn't. So now Tenacious D, the group that he's part of, have canceled the rest of their tour after the remarks on the "don't miss next time" when it comes to the assassination. Here's the problem I run into. The more I pay attention to Hollywood and people that I thought were good guys, it turns out there's no good guys anymore. It's like, are there any good guys left that you can look at and say, okay, I can enjoy them for more than their work? Or can you only basically enjoy someone for only what they put on the screen, and after that you have to just completely hit the mute button?
You know what's hard about this is that there actually are a lot of those people, but they don't come to mind when you have these conversations because they deliberately don't want to come to mind. They stay quiet on these things. My feed oddly reminds me, I've said this before on the Eddie Price Show, so pardon me, but for whatever reason, the Facebook algorithm that gives you LeBron James and Michael Jordan conversations like every time you log on always tells me how great of a guy Keanu Reeves is. It's always about, oh, look, he's on a train and he sat next to an elderly woman and treated her to a bowl of soup.
And as well as Meghan Trainor's dog's hair.
That one too.
That one also.
That's an ad, though.
Oh, okay.
That's an ad.
This is different. Got it.
So
do you want to? Oh, go ahead.
There are celebrities out there, and I would actually venture to say it's probably the majority of them that stay relatively quiet on these issues. And so we never, like Paul Rudd, for instance, where does he stand politically? No idea. And I'm very glad about that. There's a lot of those people.
Let me read, I'll read the response that they post online, which I'll go back to what you said before. It's not their response, it's their PR firm's response or their lawyer's response. Quote, was on Jack Black's Instagram. The line, okay, so maybe this is on Jack Black's Instagram, but it was on behalf of his partner. It says, quote, "The line I improvised Sunday night in Sydney was highly inappropriate, dangerous, and a terrible mistake. I don't condone violence in any kind, in any form against anyone. What happened was a tragedy, and I'm incredibly sorry for my severe lack of judgment." Does that sound like him, or does that sound like a PR firm?
That's a PR firm, 100%.
Yeah, so they had to cancel the concert. And how mad are you if you actually had like tickets to that concert and you're really looking forward to it for the last 6 months? Then they say something stupid like that and they cancel it. Now, being in Australia, you don't just make it to Australia often. Like, this is a special thing. He was going to be in New Zealand the month before. Apparently he was there. So they were hitting different areas. When I see this, I think, man, the less I know about people, the better off I am. Like, honestly, the less I know.
And doesn't it make you wonder how many times in the past, these things would happen? Somebody would say something crazy at a show, but not everybody had an iPhone. And so you wouldn't really know. And maybe word of mouth would get out that somebody had said something pretty incendiary, but it wouldn't be recorded for you to actually see yourself. I was looking at Jack Black's actual statement that he gave on this. He says, "I was blindsided by what was said at the show on Sunday. I would never condone hate speech or encourage political violence in any form. After much reflection, I no longer feel it is appropriate to continue the Tenacious D tour, and all future creative plans are on hold." That's a big statement. I am grateful to the fans for their support and understanding. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. What did they say? Never meet your heroes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is that? Because
they're people.
Exactly reason. Because they're people, and they got problems too. All right. When we come back after the break, I saw this other story, and I was trying to find things that aren't 100% political, but this can turn political very quickly. There's apparently a remote tribe in the Amazon that has reemerged. And I thought to myself, if you had a chance to communicate with them, to tell them what the world's like, what would your message be to them? Like, how would you describe the world today when they are in their own atmosphere, their own bubble that's completely cut off from the rest of the world? So maybe we answer that question coming up after the break. Also, there's this one story about dogs being pulled from the St. Clair County Animal Services building. Man, what a life of a dog. You're just, one day you're in a cage waiting for someone to pick you up. Next thing you know, water's rising and your legs are little. So let's talk about that local story too coming up. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Andy Fry on 97.1 FM Talk.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Talk to you about STS Armory and how they have access to all of the different firearms you might be seeking out. They understand exactly how to navigate the Second Amendment in the state of Illinois. They are your best resource for anybody who is looking to protect themselves, to learn more, or to get the next thing to add to the collection. STS-armory.com is the website, but I want to highlight something very special that they do that you need to check out for yourself, and that is the training and the classes that they provide. They are experts, but they're also kind. I appreciate how helpful they are. They never look down on anyone, whether you're walking in and you're like, I think I need a FOID card. What's a FOID card? Or you're looking for the most specific thing that you could possibly think of. They can help you find that as well. But the classes they offer, the conceal and carry classes, the renewal classes, they nail it down to ladies only classes, kids and teen firearm safety and education, they have it all. 618-931-GUNS, STS-armory.com.
Summer is here, which means pool days, beach trips, and yeah, you guessed it, traffic jams. Oh yeah, and heat waves. Don't let summer catch you by surprise. Get the local news you need, no matter what you're up to, with the free Odyssey app. And never miss a beat with alerts on breaking stories sent directly to your phone. Listen today on the free Odyssey app. That's AUDACY.
Considering new windows, I want you to talk to my friends at Window World. Mark Cox here. They have got a great deal going for you right now. Up to 36 months financing, interest-free, with approved credit. They've never done this before at Window World, so take advantage of this. Call them today at 314-993-1800. Again, 314-993-1800. You hear me talk about Window World. I'm a satisfied customer. I've got their windows in my house. I've been to their offices and I've stood on these windows. I've seen how well built they are. They go in and they are meant to last. You wouldn't give a lifetime warranty on a product if you didn't think it was going to last for a long time, and they stand behind that warranty. In over 20 years of business, they have helped more than 72,000 customers in St. Louis improve the look and the thermal efficiency of their home. Call them today, get your free estimate, and ask about that 36-month financing, 314-993-1800. or windowworld.com.
Who can Missouri Republicans trust to crack down on illegal immigration and communist China? Not Jay Ashcroft. Jay Ashcroft championed a bill that allowed China to buy Missouri farmland and other property near our military bases. Ashcroft took thousands of dollars of travel from liberal groups, including one that pushed amnesty for illegal immigrants. It gets worse. Jay Ashcroft turned his back on America's veterans and opposed providing vets with any benefits at all, including discounts on hunting licenses and prescription drugs. Jay Ashcroft allowed China to buy our farmland. He vacationed with amnesty-loving liberals, and Ashcroft stiffed America's veterans. There's a better choice. As Missouri's governor, Mike Kehoe will stand with President Trump to crack down on China, secure our border, and honor our veterans. Mike Kehoe is the conservative we can trust.
Cops for Kehoe is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by Cops for Kehoe, and is not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
At Hampton Manor of Wentzville, they go the extra step to make sure their residents feel special. Mark Cox here from my friends at Hampton Manor. I recently stopped by there. You know, their veterans are celebrated with special recognitions, including special pastries created by their pastry chef. They have their own private chef. They'll even feed you lunch if you stop by for a visit at this great senior living community off the Lake St. Louis exit at Highway 70. Schedule your appointment today at WentzvilleAssistedLiving.com.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is proud to support Greater St. Louis Honor Flight. Sign your veteran up for the Honor Flight today at GSLHonorFlight.org. And for heating services, visit aircomfortservice.com.
Odyssey is your home for all the audio that matters to you. Download the Odyssey app today to listen to 97.1 FM Talk, even when you don't have a radio. Always streaming at 971talk.com. This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Fry Show.
Welcome back. Got a couple of headlines for you guys. Adam Schiff calls for Biden to, quote, pass the torch. You know, a little too late, I think. And Joe Biden recently came out and said he would only reevaluate his candidacy based on a medical condition. Well, I don't know if, let's say, dementia or Parkinson's is a medical condition he'd consider, but it sounds like he has some good options to pick from that he would be able to relay that to. So maybe they're setting the ground for him to get replaced. Let me put it this way. I think there's some similarities back in 2016 when Donald Trump was getting some ground in the Republican Party, and it got to the point where he was so divisive. They said, this is so different than any traditional candidate we've ever had. There's no way you'll ever be able to beat Hillary Clinton because she is such a powerhouse. Her last name's Clinton, after all. And somehow he pulled it out. But remember, they were talking about, will you pledge to the Republican Party if you're not the candidate? Will you pledge to the Republican Party? Now, I think this pledge to the Democrat Party is going on in reverse. So they're not saying like, hey, Joe Biden, will you pledge to the Democrat Party? We want you to pledge by leaving. We want you out. It's like the reverse Trump going on here, I think, in 2024. Do you see a little bit of like, hey, for the sake of the party, the only reason they're doing this is the like reverse pledge?
I don't know. The news items you just read are very, very news because like that just happened within the last like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
The one about Adam Schiff, you know, Fox just reported on that he's a big name. I wouldn't necessarily put him in Democrat leadership yet. I mean, he's right on the bubble there of being called Democrat leadership. He's kind of in committees, he's a big name. So it is a big deal. But the other item you just read about Biden saying was it to a radio host somewhere or something like that's being reported?
Let me get the quote here. Hold on. But go ahead.
Yeah.
BET News' Ed Gordon questioned the president. So this was part of the thing. And I think Ethan messaged me part of this too, right? Ethan sent me a message on a text message. So yeah, this happened just recently too.
So it's being reported that he said, look, if a doctor says that I'm unfit to serve, then I would step down. I think a lot of people are interpreting that as, well, he's sort of giving a couple indications that maybe he could bow out gracefully, and this is how he would do it. I actually read that the exact opposite, that he's saying, look, a doctor would have to tell me I'm incapable of serving, and we know that he's not going to see those doctors because he won't release any of that information. So I think he's doing the opposite and saying, look, no doctor is saying that, therefore I won't.
He's basically saying that he would step down before a constitutional amendment forces him out. So let's look at it this way. Maybe he's saying this because he knows that this would be the statesman thing to do, but I think that ship has sailed. Knowing what we know, I think we've all known that Joe Biden's been in terrible mental shape. I knew this during the last election. I wasn't afraid to say it and talk about it. His mental decline is very evident, but they hid it for so long. And I like what Greg Gutfeld said about it, essentially saying that the media is not mad. They're mad that we finally found out about it. Everything that people already knew about him, that the public got to see this side of him that they've tried to hide for as long as they have. Going back to what Adam Schiff said, I truly believe this, and I don't have proof of it, but I truly believe Adam Schiff was one of the people that leaked a lot of this quote unquote information on Donald Trump back during the other election. All signs point to him, the ones leaking this information to the media. The media reports on it from their source. Adam Schiff is apparently a credible enough source that they didn't corroborate the account. They just took his word for it. They report the false information, and then the Democrat Party goes back and points, see, CNN said it, MSNBC said it, so it has to be true. I think it was just a game that Adam Schiff was playing. And again, I don't think we'll ever be able to prove this, and I can't prove it right now, but I truly believe that's what happened. So I think Adam Schiff is a power player. I think he sabotaged a lot in the other elections in order to try to spin this for the Democrat side. He's a power player behind the scenes, but someone that's pretty well known, I guess, in Congress. So I would put him up there a little bit higher in some of these tier levels of, I guess, manipulative Democrats.
He is exactly that. He is one of the most manipulative, and the media would just eat anything he had to say because they just wanted anti-Trump stories, and he was very willing to give them. He would lie to them, and that's why he was censured by Congress. They had a vote, and they voted to go ahead and censure him. It doesn't do anything. It's just an act of show, but they did it. And it's not a common thing to do. But they did it because he lied so much, and provably he would say things publicly that we know weren't true. I think it was during it was maybe during the impeachment, the first impeachment, that he would say, look, we have the smoking gun. And so everybody's reporting, oh my gosh, this is a big deal. And there would be nothing. Or he would make things up and bring in sources that didn't really have that much of a connection to say things so that he could just repeat it. It was all about the narrative. That guy's gross. He's very, very disgusting because people that do that. Look, if Republicans did it, I'd call that out too. George Santos was a liar. We all said it. It's very true. And Republicans got rid of him. What did they do with Adam Schiff? They're going to make him a senator.
You know what? We're really not talking about Menendez at all, the senator out of New Jersey. He was found guilty yesterday, wasn't he?
Yeah, guilty on all 16 counts.
What a corruption that goes on there. And no one's talking about that either. It seems like that's kind of getting swept under the rug. That's a really big deal. It goes to show you just how crazy the news cycle is right now, where something like that, a high-ranking Democrat senator, could be found guilty on all these different counts, and it makes like a blip for a second. It's back out.
Yeah.
Real quick, I wanted to bring up this one story I saw online. It's a story by Rachel Panett. Rarely seen Amazon tribe emerges from rainforest as loggers move in. So their ecosystem has loggers and people that are pulling these trees down, but there is a remote tribe in the Amazon where they live. And I got to say, I thought to myself, how would you try to start to describe the rest of the world to them? Where would you start? For them, all they know is their direct surrounding. Right? They don't know anything else of the world. You, Ryan Wiggins, you're someone that is an author. You pitch TV shows for pennies on the dollar. You have what would make for a good storyline. Where would you start with this tribe to describe the rest of the world?
So this is a group of people who've been completely isolated from everything, or just for the last few years?
Isolated completely from everything.
I mean, you'd have to start, but what's the difference between science and magic? I mean, you'd have to explain like, this is how things work. We figured out how to do this and that, if you could speak the same language, of course, and start from very, very basic things about what is your worldview, because how do you even communicate some of the concepts that we have to people that may not have that framework for even understanding? Missionaries run into this. At least they have in the past. I don't know. The world's getting smaller, so I don't know how much this happens now. But missionaries trying to explain Christ to somebody a lot of times would have to figure out what their framework of understanding even was first before they could explain who Christ was and how he is a redeemer, because it didn't fit the worldview even to explain it just as basic fact.
So it's so fascinating you take that angle, because I think there is like a deeper meaning to it, because you think about the knowledge that's shared through the Bible and trying to portray God's wisdom in a way humans can understand. It's almost like you going to this tribe is a godlike way of trying to explain a concept that no one can understand. Like it's almost that type of it's almost like that type of situation that's going on there. And language barrier set aside, let's say there was no language barrier. Would this be something you would enjoy doing? Like, would you enjoy trying to introduce the world, or would it just be such a problem to portray it the right way that it's like a task that you can't even begin to think of?
Man, I don't know. That doesn't sound like something that I could do well.
That's your next TV show. You pitching you can try to explain to these tribes what the world's like.
It's a reality show.
Yeah.
God,
not reality show, no.
But I've heard a great story. This was and it just came to mind as we've been talking about this. I knew a missionary, or was friends with somebody who was friends with this missionary. I can't remember if I was hearing it firsthand or secondhand, but the story was that they went to one of these tribes, and this was probably 20 years ago. A group of people, and don't ask me where, don't remember, but the group of people was completely isolated, like you said. And it's probably the 90s is when this happened, because the story had then filtered into, me hearing it 10 years later. That the person was trying to explain forgiveness, the concept of forgiveness, of being forgiven by God and then forgiving others, to this group of people that had never heard that concept. And they could not understand it. Like they had never, ever forgiven, because it was a very vengeance-based society. So they didn't even have a word for it. They'd never practiced it. So they could never fathom what it would be. And the guy, he says that he would just felt very inspired by the Holy Spirit to have, and these were people who were listening. It wasn't like they were not wanting to hear the message. Like, they were showing up to listen to this guy. And he was like, I can't figure out how to explain it. And so in one of these meetings, which I guess would be like a church meeting, or a rudimentary version of it, they were just meeting and talking. And he said, okay, he had one of the leaders stand up, and he had another one of the leaders stand up, probably from different families. And he said, walk up to each other. And he was using their language. Walk up to each other and put your fist right in front of their face like you're going to hit them, both of you. And they did. And just the act of bringing that fist up, they basically started fighting. They knew that they weren't supposed to be, but they were just like, it like triggered. They were going to fight, know? And he said, stop. Now, hug each other. And they did. And he said, like, the meeting broke open and they started crying. These two guys, these two grown men started crying. And then, because these were two prominent men, everybody started crying. And it was like the whole room suddenly understood what forgiveness could be.
Wow.
And it never left me, because we say it, we use the word, and we kind of understand what that is supposed to mean. We may not use it in heavenly terms all the time, but we at least get the concept. But to never understand the concept and then suddenly, boom, I've never experienced this before. Wow. I mean, what a neat story.
Wow, that's a fantastic story. Oh, Wiggins, I tell you what, that's how you start your pitch. You'll get whatever project you want done. You describe what you just described. Amazing. All right, there's still some time, by the way, to vote in the YouTube poll. What's the question again?
Is the GOP convention having an effect on the election? Couple different options. One being, yes, it absolutely is. Second, yeah, maybe a little bit. Third, no, it's not really moving the needle.
All right, let's get the results of that coming up after the break. Not too late to go vote in it. We'll give our own reaction to it as well. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for the Annie Fry Show. One more segment coming up on 97.1 FM Talk.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Instagram at The Annie Fry Show.
You know, one of the things that keeps radio going is partnering with great people who have some sort of business and service that they are experts at, and we can connect the best listeners in the business, that's you, with the best people doing the business that they need. That's Michael's Flooring Outlet. When you're shopping for flooring here in St. Louis, if it matters to you like it matters to me, and I hope it does, shopping local is important. And Michael's Flooring Outlet, they have the quality flooring that you need, and they have it at a great price. Let's talk about the Techwood Select and Plus lines that they have. They have truly natural visuals that are going to be stunning to you and to all the people who walk into your home. Dimensional stability, long-lasting finishes. The Techwood Plus enjoys wider, longer planks and cleaner grades. So if you're looking for that hardwood aesthetic, they've got something for you. Whatever you're searching for, start or end your process at Michael's Flooring Outlet. You might start it and end it there. You'll be glad you did. And thank them for partnering with us here on the Annie Fry Show. I'm grateful for them. I'm grateful for you. You can check them out online at igotfloor.com.
If you have a problem with the IRS, believe me, it's not going away on its own. The IRS never gives up. They have endless resources, so they control the game. Well, your tax problems can end. I'm attorney Lance Drury with the Drury Law Firm, a local tax resolution firm with an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau. I've handled thousands of IRS cases over the last 15 years. So when you hire me, you won't be speaking long distance or sending money to some TV pitchman that's riddled with consumer complaints. Your first visit is completely free and confidential, and I'll tell you on the spot exactly how much it will cost. So call me, Lance Drury, at 314-260-6120. That's 314-260-6120. Or go to Lance, D-R-U-R-Y, law.com. If you have IRS issues, you need a local attorney. You need me, Lance Drury.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Conservatives need real America First warriors to take the fight to the swamp. But Bob Onder attacked President Trump, proudly voted against him, and opposed Trump on China. Because Bob Onder is just another career politician we can't trust. Conservatives for American Excellence, Inc., paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. ConservativesForAmericanExcellence.com.
More good news for Frederick Roofing, voted best roofing company by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch.
For a hole in your roof or a whole new roof, Frederick Roofing.
314-645-2000.
Tired of hearing scary ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. We may be able to significantly reduce and even eliminate what you owe to the IRS. Taxpayers should know. Huge savings are now being made available through the Fresh Start program that can drastically reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. Even if you haven't filed your taxes in years or are facing wage garnishment, liens, levies, or under audit, we can help. We've earned over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today. To see what savings you may qualify for, visit us online at TRA.com or call us at 800-511-0379. 800-511-0379. Again, that's 800-511-0379. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
You have a little bit of time left to get in on this YouTube live chat poll of the day. Is the GOP convention having an effect on the election? We'd like to know what you think, whether in November people will have been moved by what's happening this week, which we are covering tonight. Again, of course, the vice president, I don't want to say elect, because he hasn't been elected, but the vice presidential nominee for the GOP, J.D. Vance, is going to be speaking tonight. We'll be covering that live starting at 8 o'clock. It is 2:44 now. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
JerryKelly.com.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Welcome back. Another headline that just dropped here. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont is doubling down his support for President Biden. Here's the headline from The Hill. Bernie Sanders says Biden could, quote, win big against Trump. I think of right now, it would have to be, a pandemic-sized story to take down Donald Trump. I just don't see it happening right now, honestly.
I really don't want you to say pandemic-sized story taking down Donald Trump, because that is literally what happened in 2020.
He was on his way to win, and then that happened. So it would have to be that style story. But then again, you can't just say another pandemic. That would look very negative on Joe Biden more than anyone else. So because people are tired of it. Imagine if they try to pull that again, and then you have a Joe Biden trying to lock things down. Donald Trump says, not under my watch. He's in. Like, it's an even wider margin. So the YouTube poll is up. I think we got some results. How does it look?
Yeah, we do have some results. The poll itself is the GOP convention having an effect on the election? The results at this moment, and this poll will still be open for another 10 minutes or so, is, first of all, no, it's not, has 15%. So most of you think that it is having some effect. Those of you who think it's having a major effect, 34%.
Wow.
And who's winning? Yes, it is, but it's a minor effect, 51. That's actually what I voted for, too.
Minor effect. I tend to think that it has basically no effect. I just don't see how. What was it, the Amber Rose? Is that her name? Mm-hmm. Ethan, you're a big fan. I think it was her, but
he's not the only fan, though.
The only fan. Oh, that's funny. Mm-hmm, yeah. So I think that's getting some people talking like, wow, look at these non-traditional people voting for a Republican. Outside of that, I think it has no effect. I don't think it gets people motivated to vote for Republicans or Democrats on either way. I think the one thing, like, if you think of let's say on the other side, the Democratic National Convention, how many moments of the DNC convention can you think of? Oh, yeah. Well, how hilarious is that? So it's not the thing they want you to remember for it. So I think this has a similar effect just because, we're engaged in this more frequently. We're someone that is watching this more actively because, you kind of have, you want to know. You're in the news. You have a talk show. You want to stay up to date. I think we're kind of rare. I don't think people are engaged with it into the way where it has a deeper effect for people that aren't engaged. And the ones that aren't engaged are the ones that you're not going to get anyway. So that's what I think is happening there.
What's going to be weird, since you mentioned the Democrat National Convention, that assuming it's Joe Biden, which I still am assuming it's going to be him just by default. Mm-hmm. J.D. Vance, about 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago, was criticizing the person that he is now supporting. Mm-hmm. And then they get up there, and Nikki Haley too, will get up there and say, look, I criticized the guy, but he is still the guy. Like, compared to Donald Trump, he's the guy. So, okay, I can buy that. But the DNC is going to be in a weird spot with a lot of these people having to get up and speak and say, yes, I know last week I said he was not able to serve as president. However, now he is. That's going to be very awkward because you always have those people in the party who are kind of dissenting voices. You always have that. And they come back out. This is where they all come back together. It's big, happy family. How does the DNC happy family look when the vast majority of them are trying to push him out, and then they go, no, he's fine. All that stuff I said was not true.
That's so funny. Yes, and who knows what type of speakers will go out there. They'll get the Bernie Sanders, but they're not getting the, George Clooney's of the world. So they'll have to, at a point, they'll get the same pressure that Republicans got, which is get under the tent. We need you, and look at what the alternative is if you don't show your support. And I was like that too back in 2016. He wasn't my guy. Donald Trump wasn't my guy. I wanted to see Ted Cruz be successful in his bid. But I guess sometimes things, you could win someone over because you could over exceed some of the expectations they had for you. And, as a president, Donald Trump did some pretty amazing things that you're like, leading into this, you didn't think were possible for any type of president. So I guess there could be some of that, but on the Democratic side, what's that convention going to look like? It's going to be boring because for the most part, aren't they going to put all the delegates' votes together in August before the convention so they can get on the ballot in Ohio? And
yeah, that's what I've heard. Is that
so
August 7th would be the day.
all the procedures, the theatric of the procedures will be gone. It's just going to be a bunch of like high-profile Democrat speakers. Who knows? Maybe Jack Black will go out there and make some jokes. With Tenacious D will perform, but they'll get the celebrities and those type of people. They might have a little bit higher profile celebrities than what was the OnlyFans actor that actress or whatever that Ethan likes. I can't remember her name again.
What was her name, Ethan?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Oh, you don't remember now.
Oh, okay.
We were just talking about her. That's a shame.
Yeah. All right. So those are the poll results. So what was the winner? It'll have a moderate to big. Impact.
Right now the answer that's leading the poll, the question being, is the GOP convention having an effect on the election? 51%. So the majority say yes, minor effect. Let me just back up my belief in that it is having a minor effect. And it could be very minor, but I do believe it could have a minor effect. First is what you just said, Ryan Recker, about it kind of showcasing the big tent.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's going to remember DeSantis' speech. J.D. Vance will be interesting tonight unless he says something really shocking. People probably aren't going to remember that in November. They'll remember that he was there, but I don't know if you're going to remember the message. But the other reason, other than the sort of, hey, this isn't the old GOP, this is a very new GOP, which I think is important to remember, is that there's a lot of eyes right now on Donald Trump because of what happened Saturday. And he hasn't spoken yet. He's appeared at the RNC. I'm looking at video footage of him apparently live or on the floor right now.
Right.
So he's around, and there's a lot of interest to see just him. He's this huge figure, and when something happens like that, it's global instant news. It's not just America. Like the way you felt on Saturday, there were probably people all over the world who may not felt the same way as you as not an American citizen, but they were as interested because, this affects everybody. And for him to get up tomorrow night and speak, it's very possible that people who may not have been paying attention might pay attention, especially tomorrow, to see what Trump says, see how he addresses this whole thing, because it'll be his first real public appearance.
Can I give you some of my here's what could happen type of things in the future? I'll pull up the crystal ball. And I don't have a good track record of these crystal ball predictions actually paying off, but I'm going to guess what the Democrats are going to do for their strategy here. Okay. Here's what they're going to say. But backing up a little bit, Donald Trump as a politician and a president, all things considered, was Republican, but he was a pretty moderate Republican when it came to a lot of his different stances. But he is his personality and everything else that travels around him, very extreme. But his actual policies and the things that he did was pretty moderately Republican. So it wasn't like far right or anything. But they try to paint this picture that he's the biggest extremist dictator Hitler ever, right? That's the kind of rhetoric that got them in trouble to begin with for saying that. Here's what I think might happen. I say this, it's a little sensitive the way I'm saying this, so I got to be careful. Based on what we saw over the weekend with the attempt of President Trump's life, I think the Democrats are not going to be sensitive about this. Essentially, what they're going to say is, well, we need to resign to the idea that his policies were pretty moderate, but this J.D. Vance is extreme. He's even worse than Trump on the extreme level. So I think they're going to concede that they've lied about Donald Trump to some extent to make him sound like he's Hitler. They're going to try to pull some of that rhetoric back, and they're going to put all that attention. If something happens to him, this is the guy that's going to be in office, and look how extreme he is. I think that's going to be the playbook of the Democrats, and I don't think it's going to work because Joe Biden's just a corpse. I mean, I don't mean it like literally, but he is like a walking zombie, and he doesn't really offer much to the party anymore.
Interesting.
Do you think I'm way off on this? You can tell me if you think
I don't think they'll focus on Vance. I think they'll still focus on Trump. In fact, I don't think you're way off in that I don't think they're going to pitch a great vision for America because they haven't been doing that. They don't have a vision for America that's anything other than we're not that. So I can't imagine that they're going to do anything other than continue saying we're not that about Trump and now Vance. So in that sense, I would agree with you. I will just one random fact. I am looking at Fox News right now, and this is the first time I've ever realized J.D. Vance is very tall
Oh,
he is
okay.
actually taller than Donald Trump.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, just random. Anyway.
And people have pointed out he's got a beard. It's been a long time since we've seen a president or vice president with a beard, by the way. It's been lots of years since that's happened. Let me point out something else that I think is pretty ridiculous. I think, who was it online? It was like Mark Hamill, who's the one that Luke Skywalker, and some of these other people, they were pointing out Donald Trump at the convention. And he's got, of course, the bandages on his ear. They're making fun of it because they said it was, comically large. So they made fun of him on that. But people have been taking photos of him, which look like he's got his eyes closed, right? Head down, eyes closed. And all things considered, the dude's probably on painkillers and other things after getting shot in the head. So I'm guessing that whatever medications he's on is subduing him a little bit and probably making him sleepy at night. So I feel like they should maybe give him a little bit of a pass on this as opposed to criticizing him. But instead, they are leaning full into this conspiracy. So I thought that was distasteful.
I mean, go with it. If that's what you got, the guy got shot in the ear, narrowly avoided an assassination attempt, stands up and starts pumping his fist in the air while the Secret Service is trying to bring him down. I mean, yeah, tell me that he doesn't have energy. Go with that message.
The guy, I should ask my political historian friend, Rich Rubino, has there been a more resilient politician in the history of politicians to go through court cases? I mean, all the things that have been said about him, nonstop barrage in a lot of its lies. And on top of that, he even has an assassination attempt where he gets shot in the ear and still gets up, and that's what he does. I don't think there can be a more resilient politician. But then, you know what? This is just quite an election cycle. I don't think anything ever plays out the way you think they will. I'll be back again tomorrow. Andy Fry Show. I guess it'll be the Manny Fry Show, and I look forward to spending it with you guys. If you want to find me online, Ryan Recker Radio on Facebook. We hope to see you again tomorrow. 97.1 FM Talk.
A weak White House, an invasion of illegals, and the woke mob attacking our values. That's what Phil Cristofanelli is fighting for Missouri's future. He supported sending the National Guard to secure the southern border. He defunded sanctuary cities. And Phil Cristofanelli backs the blue to keep our neighborhoods safe from gangs, fentanyl, and human traffickers. He's been named one of Missouri's most conservative legislators year after year. Cristofanelli stands up to the radical left and weak-kneed Republicans. Pro-life, he helped pass one of the nation's strongest anti-abortion laws and defunded Planned Parenthood. Pro-Second Amendment, he stood up for our gun owners and constitutional rights. And Cristofanelli is keeping men out of girls' sports and locker rooms. Phil Cristofanelli, an unwavering conservative for state senate.
Paid for by friends of Phil Cristofanelli, Dan Raker's treasurer.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with